Hello and good morning, everybody. I am your host, Felipe, and you're watching and listening to the Total Basis podcast. With me, as always, is Sean Flannery. Sean, how you doing this morning?
Oh, what's up, man? Not much. Ready to get this show on the road and talk about some projections, and predictions,
Predictions.
the difference between the two.
Go ahead and explain the difference between the two.
Oh, well, I mean, projections, you have, anyone makes their own physical projections, but we are going to make some predictions that both agree and disagree with some projections. So stay in tune.
Yeah, I did take a look at my predictions to see how it matches up with Fangraphs, and we're pretty similar, but there is a couple of things that Fangraphs and I disagree on. And, I know everybody's been this week been talking about the PECOTA rankings as well. As we saw, let's just, what, Sean, I'm just going to call it for how I see it. A few sensitive Cub fans who don't agree with PECOTA. These were the same Cub fans who were complaining last year about the team not scoring enough and not being clutch enough. And it's basically the same roster, but worse. And, so that was an interesting argument on, was it Friday night on Baseball Life? But we'll get to
I caught snippets of it.
Yeah, well, you're lucky you didn't get the whole thing because I was in the middle of that. And it's like, I think at one point somebody told me that's why we can't talk about predictions because anything can happen. Then why are you here? Why do we have a baseball group? We are here to talk baseball, including predictions. It's like, Sean, it's one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, well, we can't really talk about it because we don't know what's going to happen. Why are we doing this? Why do we exist? Why do we have a community?
It's all a simulation. We're all just projected by somebody else's computer simulation, obviously.
Anything can happen. Well, no. Yeah, anything can happen, but that's a given, right? I mean, we there are variables that we can control, and there's variables we can't control. Those uncontrolled variables. So anyway, getting off my high horse. So we're gonna do all 6 divisions, starting with, as I pull up my spreadsheet here. Do you see that?
Yes.
Colorful American League East spreadsheet.
Yes.
Okay, so. At the pole position in the American League East, I have the Yankees. Sean has the Rays. I don't know, how do you want to do this? So you just want to go back and forth and, well, you know what? Let's do this, Sean. I have the Yankees in first, the Blue Jays in second, and my second wild card. The Rays are in third, Red Sox in fourth, and the Orioles are in fifth. And Sean has the Rays, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and Orioles. So I see, we do have a couple of differences. We have a couple of flip-flopping differences here. So let's start with you, Sean. Why do you think the Rays are going to win this division?
I just think the Rays, they returned just about the entire team from, well, not entire team. There's no Blake Snell, but Tampa is very much like Cleveland. They pick these arms and they sprinkle a little fairy dust on them, and boom, they're all-star level pitchers. Tyler Glasnow is really, I think, primed to have his best year yet. He's looked great in spring training, just went 5 innings, I believe, yesterday, 10 strikeouts. He used to be that only fastball curveball guy, but he's introduced a new pitch the spring training, the slutter, and it is absolutely dominating hitters. Nick Anderson, for some bad news, is injured for them and is expected to miss the first couple months of the season. But once again, they have so many options, and they even have some forgotten man options, like Brendan McKay, who was a top 10, top 5 prospect in all of baseball, still recovering from a shoulder surgery that he had at the end of last year. But people are forgetting about him. They shouldn't. They still have so much depth, and they always get the most out of that depth. And in the end of the day, I think pitching wins championships, and I think the Rays have plenty.
For my first position, I got the Yankees. I've been saying it all off season long. It's either the Yankees or the White Sox, and I think the Yankees have done enough and have convinced me enough to suggest that, yes, it would be the Yankees. So that means that they would have to win this American League East to get the number 1 seed in the American League. So I just think they're full of depth. They have the most resources. I know injuries always get to them, but as you just mentioned, the Rays having a few injuries. And you know what? The Rays are always injured. I mean, one of the guys you forgot to mention was Charlie Morton, who
he's on the Braves.
Gone.
Yeah, he's on the Braves.
He's gone now. But when he was here, he was always hurt. Blake Snell, you mentioned in the previous podcast, when he's healthy, he could be one of the better pitchers in all of baseball. Now those guys are gone, and I feel like, eventually losing talent like that catches up to you. I do believe that. And I know that they're full of depth. I know we talked about it on this show. Like they were built for a 162 game season last year and a 60 game season last year as well. It didn't matter what the schedule was, but ultimately it's just seeing talent go eventually does catch up with you. And I think this is going to be one of those catch up years for the Rays. And
it very well possibly could be. And,
that's why I'm on third.
And even if it is, I think that it would be a 1 year blip because they still have young guys like Luis Patino, who was acquired in the Snell deal. Brent Honeywell Jr., what a name. He is finally healthy. He just had his first spring training appearance, I believe, last week. And that screwball that we all fell in love with when he was a prospect is still alive and good. Shane McClanahan. There are some of their better arms that are just like maybe 1 year away. So they could fall short. I just don't see it.
Yeah, well, I think because the Blue Jays did a lot to convince me to get that second wild card. I love their lineup, man.
I'm worried about their pitching.
Their pitching is always a worry, but you know what? I just don't think the Rays. They're gonna try to do a lot of smoke and mirrors this year, like they've done in the past, where they have an opener. And
you mean what's worked?
Well, I mean, eventually it doesn't work. I mean, like I said, one of the most underrated things is they did have a very strong top of the rotation, on their starting rotation was Blake Snell, Charlie Morton, and Tyler Glasnow. And Glasnow, right? I mean, that's another thing we always got to worry about. Will this be the year the Rays will unleash him? Is this the year where the Rays are not worried about him getting hurt anymore? Is this the year where he's not considered like this guy who can't to keep his walks down? And now he's all by himself, and he has a bunch of other guys in the back.
Hey, you're telling me you're not buying into a Chris Archer 2.0 rebound?
I'm buying it. I just don't think it's going to be enough this year. I mean, like I said, you got to believe in what the Rays can do. It
is fair. It is easy to look at their pitching, but at the same time, it's very easy to look at a lot of these teams and look at their pitching staff and wonder if they have enough pitching. Unless you're like the Mets, Dodgers, or Padres, like that. That's it. It's a lot of these teams. You look at them and you're like, they got some guys, but is it enough? And I feel like it's a question that teams always have to ask themselves.
Yeah, well, in this case, I think their starting rotation is not enough, but I love their bullpen. We talk about the bullpen all the time, like it's the greatest thing that God ever created. So, but I think they're gonna get taxed this year. They've been overused in the past, and I think it's just gonna catch up to them this year. And I like I said, Blue Jays, they're a big concern. They already got Kirby Yates hurt. I think they're gonna outslug enough this year to make some noise and capture that second wild card. They have, like I've been telling, I know people make fun of the Blue Jays in their starting rotation all the time, but I think they have enough to, at the very least, be a middle of the pack rotation. And for that lineup, that should be enough. I believe that should be enough. You would think that should be enough. I want to believe that's enough. And you know what? And I also wanted to pick a different team and reward a team like the Blue Jays they're trying.
They're going for it.
They're going for it. As opposed to the Rays who are continuously dropping payroll and acquiring more minor league talent, which is the smart thing to do if you're the Rays. But it's just frustrating because, like I said, you went to the World Series, and if you're a Rays fan, what was your reward? You just saw a bunch of your favorite players go away or get traded away. So that's my only gripe. We both have the Red Sox and the Orioles.
Yeah,
we finally agree on something. 4th and 5th.
Yay.
I do like the Red Sox too. If they had better starting pitching,
yeah. The Red Sox is all there's their offense. You look at the offense and you're like, wow, that's actually not a terrible team. And then you look at the bullpen and the back half of the rotation, and you just kind of go, ugh. And they're now dealing with Eduardo Rodriguez. I think was dealing with dead arm, and so he's not going to make the opening day start. But they still have him listed at the back end of the rotation. So maybe it's just one of those things where he's going to make his first start, but not the first game. But you look at guys like Martin Perez and Nick Pivetta as your actual 4 and 5 in a rotation. And in the bullpen, granted, is better than what it looked like last year. Last year, there were some guys in that Red Sox bullpen you never even heard before. But Matt Barnes just went down with COVID.
Yeah.
And I believe that Ryan Brazier, he's also hurt. So you got a lot of unknowns in that bullpen. It's just looking rough.
It's the Japanese guy's turn now. Yeah, I think he's going to be closer, right?
Well, I believe Adam Ottavino has the first dibs on the closer's role with Matt Barnes out till about, I think, April 5th due to protocols.
Yeah. I was gonna mention that if they had like some type of starting pitching, I think I would like him more. But Chris Sale is waiting in the wings, but unfortunately, he's going to have to rehab and go through all that and make sure that his arm doesn't fall apart when he comes
Without
back.
getting too far ahead of ourselves, is your American League Rookie of the Year in this division?
I forgot who I picked. No, he's not. He's not.
Okay, gotcha.
No. Well, who do you have in your? I mean, who do you have in mind here?
I did see that on Fox that the fans had voted Bobby Dulbeck.
Yeah,
who's just been destroying spring training. They had him listed as AL Rookie of the Year, which is, I mean, if a guy goes out there and hits 40-something home runs, it might be hard if he's batting 210. But Joey Gallo's done it before.
You know what it is, Sean? There's a lot of Red Sox fans out there.
Yes, there are.
That's all, and they all voted. And that's the result.
My Rookie of the Year is not in the American League East. I did go back and check.
Before I go to the American League Central, any last words on the American League East from you, Sean?
We believe in you, Orioles.
Yeah, you know what? That's not fair to the Orioles. Let's talk a little bit more about them. Ryan Mountcastle is also a Rookie of the Year candidate, and they have some upside on their rotation, but it's like the Royals' upside. It's like, to me, it's just middling. Nothing to brag about. And the last play, Adley Rushman's coming up, and there was another guy.
Is Mountcastle still rookie eligible?
I couldn't believe it myself. He's considered a rookie for this year. I mean, yeah, 2020 messed up our minds last year. So
he only had 140 plate appearances.
So he's technically a rookie.
Yep, he's good. Because I think it's 150 ABs.
Something like that, yeah. But I was going to mention Tanner Scott. It's another guy we mentioned, and I think with Hunter Harvey going down, he might get some saves, but he's left-handed, so you know how managers love their left-handed pitchers out of the bullpen to be
unless your name's Aroldis Chapman,
or unless your name is Aroldis Chapman, who we talked about the other week. He can't do anything but close.
Yeah,
so you put him in the 7th inning, he panics and chokes the game away. And I can hear the Yankee fans now. American League Central. I'll start with my picks, and then you can tell the people your picks. But I have the Twins getting the number 2 seed, the White Sox getting that first wild card, Cleveland getting the number 3 spot, and then the Royals and the Tigers. Sean, what about you?
As you can see, I got White Sox, Twins, Cleveland in our last 3 match, in Cleveland, Kansas City, and Detroit. I think the one team here that we're sleeping on just because we both threw them in the number 4 spot, but they're going to make the lives of their division mates hell, and that's the Kansas City Royals. Mm-hmm. They, in an offseason where a lot of teams, basically threw their cards in, folded, and said, we give up, Chicago Cubs. It's crazy to see the Kansas City Royals go out there and get the players they did, how they got them, and through the myriad of ways they got them. They had some very interesting trades, very interesting signings at the very beginning when things first started. They took advantage of the market. Yeah.
They extended Hunter Dozier.
Yeah. Oh, did they extend Hunter Dozier?
Yeah. It was like a really cheap contract too, but they extended him anyway, which was kind of surprising. I thought they were just going to.
And I do think it's admirable that they're doing this, that in a year, in an off season of teams giving up, that they're going for it. Are they going to be a playoff team? Probably not. But right now, Fangraphs has them projected for 77 wins. I could see them hitting pretty close to that, if not maybe a 500 team. But in the end, I believe this is the White Sox division to lose. In terms of pitching staff, bullpen, and lineup, they're so well-rounded. The Twins, I worry a little bit about the back end of the bullpen, how Taylor Rogers. Oh, my God. I worry about Taylor Rogers. Like, if they lose him with Trevor May no longer there, they've lost a few pieces out of that bullpen, and Alex Colomé just doesn't do it for me. So I believe this is the White Sox division to win.
Hold on. Colomé struck out the side the other day, so give him a break. It was going to be the White Sox. Well, you know what? Before the Eloy Jimenez trade, I was already on the fence between the Twins and the White Sox, because unlike you, I don't think they have enough depth. It's a very top-heavy team. But if you look at the rest of who would trying to project who would come up later this year, unlike the Twins, the White Sox, that's it. All their minor league guys, their top minor league guys, are up on the major league roster, I think, except for Andrew Vaughn.
They already shot their shot.
And Andrew Vaughn is going to have to step in now because Eloy Jimenez, all his fielding inefficiencies finally caught up to him. So, I mean, but yeah,
that's why he shouldn't have even been trying to jump over the fence.
Well, it's Eloy Jimenez, man. I mean, he's done it before. I mean, he hasn't. Well, yeah, he's jumped into, nets
Netting.
and fences and just that's why Luis Robert has to play all three outfield positions. Well, not this year because Adam Eaton's pretty good, but that's why Luis Robert will go out of his way to run to left field to catch all of Eloy Jimenez's fly ball putouts because we can't trust Eloy Jimenez, and that's a problem, man. And you can't put him in DH full time because the White Sox have about 3 or 4 guys that need that DH spot.
Yep.
For whatever reason, and it's just disappointing that this team had otherwise they had a really young nucleus, but they didn't do enough to complement those guys with veteran help with more depth. And I mean, like I said, I look at this team and it's just like, man, I'm the opposite of you. If one of those guys in the White Sox get hurt, then they look like like they're in trouble. And that's what we're seeing with Eloy Jimenez. Now, luckily, now you got Andrew Vaughn, but you're going to have to put him in left field, which he's only played sparingly. He's never officially played a game in left field before. I don't know what he's been doing, like to practice or to get some training in on the outfield.
Hey, he's watching some of Eloy's film, I heard.
And actually, then not do what Eloy does. But that's a problem. I mean, because the White Sox are notorious for not encouraging versatility in their position players. If you're in left field, you're staying in left field. You're in center field, you're staying in center field. There's no they tried Yoel Moncada at second base before, and they realized that he didn't like it, so they put him back in third, which is the complete opposite of what other teams are doing, where they're like, no, if you want to play on this team, you got to play third, you got to play second, you got to play outfield, you got to play anyway. But I think that's gonna be their downfall. And as of last night, I had them out of the playoffs, but again, I look at this team. And there's a lot to like here, like you mentioned. They're well-rounded, but it's very top-heavy. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and put them in the wild card, probably against my better judgment. It is kind of a homer call for me as well. So I'm going to go with that. But the Twins are I think they have better depth. They have more players coming from their minor league system to bring in reinforcements. So I think that's why I'm going to pick them again, even though I said that. So far, I'm going chalk here. So I got the Yankees in the other division. I got the Twins in this division. So it's not what I wanted to do, but it's really hard to pick anybody but the Twins. And as far as I'm concerned, we got Cleveland in third place. I know we talked about the Cleveland pitching staff. They have a couple of pieces on offense, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And I think you see it the same way too, right, Sean?
Yeah, it's that pitching is going to keep them right around 500 and be around there. I don't see it. The offense over a full season. I mean, it is very likely that Jose Ramirez could be traded this year. I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility. And if you see him traded, then you probably know what's about to happen. Mm-hmm. And that could even, if he does get traded halfway through the year and Cleveland's basically a non-contender in the second half, maybe we do see the Royals become the third place team in that division. Good and point. Maybe they do win 81 plus games and finish with a better record than Cleveland. It's very possible.
Yeah, it's disappointing because, if Lindor's in there, then there's still a pesky team to deal with. But with no Lindor and just Jose Ramirez by himself, even though Jose Ramirez is a very important player in Major League Baseball, like you mentioned, it's not enough, even with all their great pitching. But, I mean, that's the reason why I think it's going to be better than 500, maybe like an 82, 83, 84 win team there, just because their pitching is so strong.
I think they have one of the best bullpens in all of baseball.
Absolutely. So, I mean, yeah, I agree with you there. So, but
in one name, I'm very hesitant to do this because one, he's a Rule 5 draft pick. Two, most people don't know that he's already made the Indians team. But Trevor Stephen was acquired from the Yankees system in the Rule 5 draft. He's 6'5". He's always posted well above average strikeout numbers in the minors. The Indians selected him. He has looked great in spring training. And he's one of those guys. He's going to be SP RP eligible in most leagues. Keep an eye on him because the Indians, they went ahead and told him early last week that he was going to be on the roster. He has the ability to go multiple innings. Could be a guy that's very much like the Josh Hader role, but we'll see.
Man, it's like I said, it's just a waste of pitching. If they would try like the Royals, then I think I would like them a little bit more than the White Sox this year, just because I believe that Cleveland can be that party pooper for those.
The fact that it was Kansas City and not Cleveland that went out and got Carlos Santana and Andrew Benintendi, when both of those guys would have fit Cleveland's needs to an absolute T. I thought that was I know Cleveland had some money issues going on, and that's why they've dumped so much payroll in both the getting rid of Lindor and Carrasco. But that's just almost unforgivable.
No,
I mean, it really
yeah,
is.
it is. It's just they're just lucky that they're a pitching factory and they just mold whatever. I mean, it really is. They're the if you know what Cleveland is, they are the manufacturing sector that Americans all wish they still had. That's what Cleveland is right now. Royals, we talked a little bit about them, but one thing we should probably mention is that we actually do like their bullpen. I don't think it's deep enough though to compete this year, but we talk about those guys all the time, the Greg Hollins, the Scott Barlows, and the Josh Stallmans of the world. Although Josh Stallman, I don't know if you saw it, but Josh Stallman has really awful projected numbers. I think he was listed as having a 1.52 whip. So
Oh wow!
I don't know what the deal was with that, but
Let me check out some of his projections.
That's the ATC projections from like early March, or maybe even like February. So,
Yeah, he's gonna get nailed because over the even last year when he was really good, he had walks per nine over 5.5. So
yeah.
all of these projections are the lowest is like 5 walks per nine. I think he's better than that, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under on that one as well. At least I'm hoping, because I mean, you look at his stuff and it's like, nah, he can't be this bad. So we'll see. Their starting rotation is pretty awful. Like I mentioned, they're pretty much the Orioles, middling upside. I don't like it. I don't like the Brad Kellers, the Jacob Junises of the world. I'm not a fan of that. So you're gonna say something about how good they are or something there, Sean, or
Not necessarily how good they are, but it's probably just one more year, or
really?
maybe 1 or 2 more years before we really see a lot of their drafts over the last 3 years. They've been very heavily in on starting pitchers.
Yes,
guys
they
like
have, yes.
Asa Lacy last year.
Mhm.
You have Chris Bubich, Daniel Lynch. I already said Asa Lacy. I mean, they have a lot of guys that
Jackson
once they
Kowar.
get up there, Jackson Cower, however you say it.
Kowar.
Yeah, that's a couple of those guys are already in the rotation now. Brady Singer's one.
Yeah.
I'm still confused at roster resource. They have 4
Mhm.
SPs, but they're probably going to have like 5 or 6.
Oh yeah, it's probably a scheduling thing. They probably decide, yeah, we can only go with 4 right now, and they probably should, because it's not a very deep team in their pitching as of yet. But you mentioned all those minor leaguers that are coming up, and that should be they should be interesting. I had both Asa Lacy and Daniel Lynch on my cheat sheets this year, just in case, because we are in keeper leagues now. Or I mostly do keeper leagues now, so I just had them on the ready just in case I needed to get a young pitcher. But obviously they went undrafted. The Tigers. And speaking of which, I mean, that they actually have the known minor league pitching commodities, right? But as we saw last year, it's a work in progress.
2 of which are going to start the year in the rotation as well.
Yeah.
AJ Hinch came out and said both Skubal and Casey Mize would be in the opening day rotation.
Yeah, so that should be interesting, because we saw Casey Mize and he wasn't ready. I mean, it's tough, man. There's no minor league games to play, and then all of a sudden you get called up just to get called up, which was surprising even for the Tigers to do so. But it should be an interesting year of development for them. That should be a team, even though they're going to be super bad, it should be a team we should keep an eye on when guys like Tariq Skubal and Casey Mize go up, and eventually Matt Manning and I think Isaac Paredes will be eventually coming up as well. So a lot of interesting names, a lot of interesting players, but it's just a bad team. It's just a bunch of misplaced players put together and hoping for the best. And they got a lot of veterans in here too, like Robbie Grossman, who I believe you're a fan of.
He's a solid player. Yeah, I think a lot of people sleep on him, and especially in a roto league, he's going to be batting leadoff.
Yeah.
Even the top 3 hitters on the worst of teams are valuable in fantasy usually. And I think Robbie Grossman fits into that category. Another kind of Rule 5 relevant pick here, Akil Baddoo he was out of the Minnesota Twins organization. He has had a great spring training with the Tigers. It's looking like they will keep him on the roster. And when you compare him to the options of Jacoby Jones, Victor Reyes, or Nomar Mazara, his path to playing time might be pretty clear, and he has great speed. So I know people out there are always chasing steals. So add Akil Baddoo to your stolen base short list.
Larry, who's commenting this morning. Good morning, Larry. He's been, and whenever there's these podcasts, either here or in Dong City, which they're on tomorrow night, I think they should be wrapping up their predictions as they're going a little bit more in depth than we are. We're just trying to go as fast as we can here. But he is insisting, letting the whole world know that there's no way on God's green earth the White Sox are missing the playoffs this year. They got too many Cubans. That's this reason the Cubans is I don't know, is Larry Cuban or I believe
so. I believe so.
Well, no wonder. Okay. All right. The Cuban baseball Cuba is the baseball capital of the world, apparently.
Are you ready for Michael Fulmer, the closer? Just last note on Tigers. Are you ready for that? Because he is going to be in the bullpen for the Tigers this year. I don't think anybody knows who's closing for the Tigers. Some say Brian Garcia, some say Gregory Soto.
So let me
it definitely should have been Joe Jimenez.
No, it's Joe Jimenez. I think that experiment is done. I don't even. Do you see Joe Jimenez on the?
Yeah, he's on the roster.
No, I don't see him.
I think he was just DFA'd actually. I'm looking at roster resources, but he was optioned to AAA, so he was not DFA'd. He had options remaining.
I still believe in Joe Jimenez. I still believe in him.
He's only 26 years old. Oh my god!
Put him on the Rays. Put him on the Rays and or on the Astros.
Somebody said that on Twitter last night when the news dropped that he had been optioned last night. Yeah. Someone said he needs to be on the Rays, and it was like make this happen, and they tagged the Rays. It was so funny.
So that means the Rays are going to do it for like a very cheap price, and Joe Jimenez is going to lead their way into the World Series because of him. Okay, so at the beginning of this whole ordeal, Gregory Soto and Brian Garcia were going back and forth on the bullpen for the closer position. Today on roster research, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys, Sean, vying for that closer's role. So when you have 5 closers, that means you have no closers. So that's
it's like the quarterbacks conundrum. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks.
Well, I was going to actually ask you about this. Now, when you have 5 potential closers in Major League Baseball in today's game, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, is that like a race thing that they're trying to do there without the?
I mean, if talent? Any of them were good, then it might be a good thing. Without the like Derek Holland might be a little interesting in being a very Pomeranz light type person, because since he's stopped starting, he actually looks somewhat passable, but we'll see.
And I saw that people, Tigers fans, were wondering what the hell happened to Daniel Norris. He was a highly regarded prospect. I wanted to get your opinion on Daniel Norris. He was a highly regarded prospect for the Blue Jays. Got traded, I forgot for whom, as the Blue Jays were trying to make those playoff pushes all those years. And he was the big gem piece of that trade. Right. And I think he got cancer, and now he's in the bullpen. No longer.
Yeah, he's in the bullpen. He's only 27 years old, and he's been pitching since 2014. So,
yeah, I remember 27 is like the new 32 nowadays.
Yeah, and he's a lefty, so lefties will literally stay in the league till they're 35.
Maybe more. I mean, Jake McGee's still pitching, right?
Yeah, I'm telling you. In 2020, he played in 14 games. Strikeouts over 1 per inning, walks under 2.5 per 9, 3.25 ERA. Maybe he's the closer. I don't know. AJ Hinch, we're gonna need you to get back to us on that, please.
This is killing me. So I got to look this up. Who did Daniel Norris get traded to? Okay, Norris was traded to the Tigers along with Matthew Boyd and Jairo Labor in the exchange for David Price. Oh, okay.
Matthew Boyd, a.k.a. opening day starter for the Detroit Tigers.
And that was with the Blue Jays?
I guess so.
Man, that seems like such a long time ago. I don't know. Yeah, that was with the Blue Jays. I don't remember any of that. But yeah, at one point, the Blue Jays had some decent pitching pieces, and they traded them all away. But they didn't pan out either. So we're still waiting on Jeff Hoffman in Colorado.
Jeff Hoffman is the number 4 starter for the Cincinnati Reds to open the year.
Yeah, thank you for correcting me. I just remember that he got traded.
He is going to make likely 1 start in that first week, and it's projected to be against the Pirates. So Jeff Hoffman, SP streamer, week 1 already. Let's go.
I mean, this is just to tell you all you need to know about these trades, man. It doesn't matter which prospects you get. Oh, well, this guy's not highly regarded, and that guy's not in the. Listen, I'm talking about Jeff Hoffman and Daniel Norris. At one point, were like supposed locks for the future for these 2 teams. You're telling me Hoffman's not with the Reds, and Norris is now coming out of the bullpen, and an afterthought in a team full of young starting pitchers. So anything can happen, man. Nothing's guaranteed. That's all I'm trying to say here. American League West. We both like the Astros. Oh my God, this is mirror
freaky.
We have our first 5
perfect matches
here: Astros, A's, Angels, Mariners, Rangers. Although Sean, I was this close to putting the Angels and the A's flip flop.
Yes, I was the same way because I could very well see a season in which they blow it up.
Well, let's talk about the Angels first. Let's go with our number 3 team. What makes them so intriguing to compete for that second place spot in that division?
Well, because we still haven't seen a full 162 of Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon together. They have, and Shohei Ohtani. Can't forget him. Especially when we get down to the awards part of the show. I just think that lineup, they have great defense. Iglesias and Fletcher up the middle, awesome. Kurt Suzuki's one of the more slept on catchers. Him and Max Stassi, who I'm not sold on, but he had a good 2020. So congrats to you, Max. And then they have a nice, interesting blend of young players, guys like Jared Walsh, Joe Adell coming up, obviously. I just think they have all of the right pieces. It's a matter of keeping those pieces in one spot.
By the way, we found out today that Larry, our guy Larry, who's in the comment section, he's both Cuban and Irish. So I would have never have guessed that.
It's a hell of a mix.
But I think he's from New York, so I'm not surprised. The melting pot of the world over there. So I do appreciate Larry chiming in. I know he's usually not here in the mornings. So, I mean, who would want to wake up on a Sunday morning, right?
No. Definitely not these people. It's definitely not these guys.
Well, it's up for us too. We love baseball so much that we're willing to kill our Sunday mornings just for this. But I like the Angels. Maybe not enough to win a division, although I the numbers do like them. But it's mostly because Mike Trout. We saw it last year in our FUBAR. Well, not yours, but my FUBAR rankings. I don't know if you want to take credit for that or not. But FUBAR did my FUBAR rankings, the numeric ranking system that I had created over the years and have been trying to perfect for almost a decade now. But they like the Angels last year. Like if you don't tell based on the statistics, not the win-loss record, but just on the player performance statistics and what the future production should be and whatever, Angels were the first place team in the AL West, not based on actual win-loss. And we saw them give the Astros fits late in the year last year. So maybe there's something to this team. But I take a look at the players and at the team again. Albert Pujols is now the starting first baseman according to Roster Resource, and we're back to maybe not. But there's a lot to like
I think Jared Walsh runs with that. I think that's going to be some sort of platoon, but with Walsh and Pujols.
Yeah, I could see that too. I just don't know why Roster Resource doesn't have it that way.
I don't know. The one name people do need to pay attention with the Angels is a guy who was just informed he would make the opening day roster last night. Mm-hmm. And that is 28-year-old minor league prospect Jose Rojas of the Angels. And he has done nothing but casually over the last 2 years at AAA. He played half of the year at AAA or finished the year in AAA in 18, played all of 19 in the PCL. And he has just raked from day one, a 284, 347, 539 slash line. He hit 31 home runs in 2019. Granted, this is the PCL.
Yeah.
But whenever you see guys, and he's done it at all levels in the minors, he's always hit, and he's always hit for power. And right now, he's really probably just the depth piece, the Luis Rengifo role, especially with Rengifo optioned and Franklin Barreto on the IL. He's going to fill in a lot of different positions. But he could, if Jared Walsh struggles, and he could take over the strong side of the platoon at first. He could play some second, short, third, in case they want to DH Rendon or somebody like that. So Jose Rojas, a name to keep an eye on.
All right, that's good to know. Rule 5 draftee.
He wasn't Rule 5, but he's
I
good.
thought I saw. Yeah, Rule 5.
No, he was with the Angels.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, he was already with the Angels.
I don't know what that means. Oh, I see. Okay, so he was picked up in 2016 maybe? I don't know why it says Rule 5 here. Oh, I am so sorry. That means he's going to qualify for Rule 5 if he's not
added to the 40-man roster, which he will be.
I see. Yeah. Okay, my bad. Their starting rotation. Are you a fan of 6-man rotations there, Sean, or no?
For this team, I actually am. Yeah. I think they have the pieces to make it work. They have a couple of guys who have issues staying healthy. Dylan Bundy, Andrew Haney. Shohei Ohtani. They have
Cobb.
a couple of guys. They have a couple of guys. Alex Cobb has just been kind of bleh. I'm not even sure if it's been injuries or if he's just been bad.
He looks, you know what Alex Cobb looks like to me, Sean? Well, first of all, he doesn't look like Ty Cobb. I can tell you that much. But when I see him, but when I or Corn, he's not related to Corn either. Corn on the Cob. But no, seriously, when Alex Cobb, every time I see him pitch, he looks like a softball pitcher, like that Chicago style 16-inch underhand softball. That's what he looks like to me. Griffin Canning is an intriguing player, but then you got Jose Quintana, who, he might flourish. Quintana might flourish.
I think Jose Quintana was a forgotten pitcher in free agency this year, all because he didn't really pitch all that much in 2020. But I mean, he was consistently from 2015 to 2019. He made pitched in no less than 32 games. He's actually had dating back to 2013, where he's made at least 32 starts in every single season. And for a team like the Angels, who half the time is just like clawing around to find bodies to start a game, that's impressive. And he's always had good results. He's never been great, but he's always been good. I don't know why he wasn't more sought after in free agency. That part blew my mind. But I do like this rotation, and I do like the 6-man rotation for this team, because they have some guys that it should, legitimately benefit.
I know, I agree with all that you said there, but I just want to add the Jose Quintana thing. I know that Cubs fan and White Sox fans like to go back and forth, but in light of recent events here, it's safe to say that Cubs won that trade. So let's move on to the bullpen. I got people pissed off now. I love making people mad. It's great. Like, how can you say that? Well, I mean, Eloy Jimenez is nowhere to be found, and Dylan says can't find command. And we don't even know who the other two guys were anymore, right?
Oh. Probably some 17-year-olds.
I don't think so.
Wasn't that what the Cubs were? Or that was the Pirates that said all they wanted were 17-year-olds. And it had extreme R. Kelly vibes.
And it's still too old for Felipe Vasquez. So,
yeah.
Not to make fun of, or not to make light of sexual allegations against minors. That's a very icky thing that Felipe Vasquez did.
We just need to put Felipe Vasquez in the same room as a roided out Jose Canseco and like Sammy Sosa, and like just coat Felipe Vasquez in powder steroids, and they have to beat him up to get it.
What the hell, man?
Yeah,
that was dark.
A bunch of it's George Carlin does the bit where he says, take pedophiles and wrap them up in gravy and throw them in a room with 2 Wolverines high on angel dust.
Oh boy. I was really quick on their bullpen. They have some top heavy guys in Raisel Iglesias, who we talked about numerous times here. We're kind of iffy about him, but for better or for worse, he is the closer for that team. He's supposed to get really good projected numbers. We'll see if that happens. Mike Myers, not the actor, but the actual, or is it Mike Mayers? I don't know.
I believe that one is Mayers. I believe. Okay. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it is Mayers.
Yeah, he's supposed to be having a high. He's supposed to yield high strikeouts. Ty Buttry, who has seen some saving opportunities before, and then it just kind of dips down in a hurry for that team, and that might be their downfall at the end. But it's a very intriguing team. If I'm an Angels fan, I'm kind of hopeful, a little bit hopeful this year.
They are going to need help in the bullpen, and I believe the guy that's going to do it for them is someone that they acquired from Miami, and I believe last year, because he pitched for the Angels, Jose Quijada. He is a lefty, 25-year-old lefty. Posted great strikeout to walk numbers. I mean, great strikeout to walk numbers all throughout the minors. I don't know really why the Marlins gave up on him. They've traded both Quijada and Alex Vesia, who were these 2 lefties with great strikeout numbers that I guess they just didn't want anymore. It's an odd thing to do, but I think Jose Quijada probably has a lot of helium in that Angels bullpen, currently projected to be in AAA. I'm not sure if he's actually been officially optioned, but a guy to be on the lookout for, or even they might be the ones that are aggressive to go after, say, a Josh Hader. Maybe they give up one of their highly touted outfield prospects, like Brandon Marsh or Taylor Ward, somebody like that. You never know.
Taylor Ward. Wow.
Oh, Taylor Ward's a little bit older now. He's like 26, 27. Yeah. So
that's why
maybe Brandon Marsh. Maybe Brandon Marsh.
Yeah, I remember Taylor Ward when he was supposed to be. Anyway, yeah, the Angels are full of those guys. It's a bunch of supposed to be's and never will be's. Chris Rodriguez, any thoughts on him? As Leon is asking from the Step Back podcast, he's asking if Chris Rodriguez is going to make an appearance. He's listed to be on the bullpen right as of this moment.
Yeah, he was the one, I believe, last week when we were on the show. Yeah. He was Wheelan drafted him, and he's never pitched above A ball, but he's having a good spring training. So, sure, we'll give it to him.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, he has good
show.
career strikeout numbers, but I mean, it's a player who's only pitched 9 innings above A-ball. So
yeah, he's only 22 years old, but the Angels are going to say, well, we might as well throw the kitchen sink and just go with full talent. Let's go with the Astros at the moment as that's our first place. But we feel like we talked about the Astros so long, I felt like we needed a little bit more time on the Angels. But the Astros, they bring back almost the entire cast of characters that everybody has grown to love and hate.
yeah. Aside from George Springer and Josh Reddick,
yeah,
those are the two major departures.
Yeah, George Springer will be missed more than Josh Reddick, I think. Although
I think Kyle Tucker's better than George Springer, but that's me.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's possible. George Springer definitely is entering his dip of his career, his downside of his career. And Josh Freddick was all defense anyway, but he had a cannon for an arm, but he was frustrating to watch.
He was frustrating because he was the one person that was keeping Kyle Tucker from getting full-time at bats like 2 years ago. I mean, that he was the sole reason why Kyle Tucker was stuck in AAA for 2 years. Josh Reddick. That's it.
It's ridiculous. Jason Castro's back. It's a decent bench, but they're sorely lacking in the depth department. But you know what these guys have is veteran moxie, for better or for worse. I know all this stuff about them, but it's a cast of characters that's been through the trenches and through the warfares of Major League Baseball playoffs. If I could borrow a military analogy there. Rotation, we love the rotation. We always talk about you guys got to have Christian Javier and Jose Urquidy in your fantasy lineups. Lance McCullers, Zach Greinke, and then your guy Brandon Bielak is making. He's listed as SP number 5 there, Sean.
No way.
As of right now, yeah. But I mean, Framber Valdez is gone. Justin Verlander is gone. Although, like you mentioned, I think Valdez might be coming back. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who else is on their thing? Jake Odorizzi is listed in the minor leagues.
Yeah. Okay. That's what it is. I was to say that's supposed to be Odorizzi's spot in the rotation. I think they said that he is going to make like 1 or 2 long man appearances out of the bullpen and then put him back because he was such a late signing.
Yeah.
So that makes more sense. I was like, that Brandon Bielak should not be the 5th starter.
Now I got to ask your opinion on this. For some reason, Fangraphs, the depth charts projections have the Angels bullpen miles better than the Astros bullpen, and I'm just not buying it. What about you? What's your thoughts on that?
Let's pull it up.
I mean, I'll tell you right now.
They both are structured similarly. Oh, I can't. I can't
really
speak
quick.
today.
Astros are ranked 25th on their bullpen, and the Angels are ranked number 10.
Yeah, I don't think the difference is that great. I think I think there's a lot of bullpens, the Astros and Angels included, where they have one great guy up top, and everything beneath him is a question mark. The upside plays for the Astros could be,
Ryan Stanek.
Ryan Stanek makes somewhat of a return. Enoli Paredes is a guy that they really like.
Yeah.
Ryan Abreu has always looked good in the minors, and he's looked pretty good in spring training. Blake Taylor, the lefty they acquired from the Mets before the 2020 season, he was pretty good in a short sample size, but was a little bit fluky. I think they have more upside than the Angels bullpen, but I think they are structured similarly, where you have the one guy at the top, Presley and Iglesias, and then everything below them is a big freaking question mark.
Also, Pedro Baez is on their COVID-19 protocol. Josh James is trying to recover from a hip surgery. We've been waiting for Josh James to just light up, and he just can't stay healthy.
He's like Alex Reyes all over again.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because when he was healthy, he had some good stuff. The A's. Okay, so this is probably you listen to Dong City and on Monday nights, and they're big fans of the A's. And then you get to this show, Total Bases Podcast on Sunday mornings, and all we do is trash the A's, especially their pitching. I don't like their pitching, but let's start with their lineup. There's a lot of good pieces. I think I picked the A's over the Angels just because they have a little bit more depth, and that should be enough to get them over the top compared to the Angels. Is that the way you see it too with their lineup?
Yeah, I see a lot of ways where the A's could go wrong, and they blow it up, and they trade guys like Ramon Laureano and Mark Canha, and maybe even Matt Chapman, or Matt Olson. I worry about the integrity of the team. If they keep it all together, I think they got the pieces to really, make the playoffs. But I could see where they're 10 games under 500 come July 1st, and they just blow it up. And that's what worries me. That's what worries me.
In the meantime, Chris Bassett, Jesus Luzardo, Sean Manaea, Frankie Montes, Dalton Jeffries. Also, they are, according to Roster Resource, they are going to go with Dalton Jeffries, who's their 5th overall prospect from last year. That's kind of surprising. Well, I guess it really isn't. But so the pitching doesn't look as bad as I think it does in my mind. I'm still thinking that Mike Fiers is in there somewhere, but it looks like he's hurt.
Yeah, he's hurt, hip injury.
The hips don't lie. So it's a better rotation than I imagined, but still, I just don't. It doesn't scream elite to me. It doesn't scream like dominant, unless Jesus Luzardo finally, it clicks on him and he's able to figure things out. But I just don't see it. Their bullpen, I do have it marked down as a little bit better in my book. I know the depth charts projections love the A's bullpen.
Yeah, Diekman, Rosenthal. Those are 2 guys they really.
Hold on. They don't like the A's bullpen as much as they like the Angels bullpen. A's are ranked 20th. The Angels are ranked 10th. I like their A's bullpen.
Yeah, I'm picking the A's bullpen over. Yeah, that's not even close.
Yeah, that's why I put that's the edge that the A's have on the Angels on this spreadsheet right here.
A random note that I have seen so far in spring training with the A's, Sean Manaea has been sitting like 93, 94.
Yeah.
When he was like a 89, 90 guy, and he's always had really good control. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if that's just a spring training gun or because Sean Manaea, we give him so much shit, like so much, but he's actually not terrible.
Leon wanted to respond saying that Dusty Baker will ride those guys in Houston till their arms fall off, till they can't walk no more, however that song goes. But
Old Town Road. Dusty probably used to live on an Old Town Road. So
Old Town, he's gonna take that Old Town Road and get these Astros in the playoffs. So and speaking from experience, because Leon is a Nationals fan and Dusty Baker used to manage the Nationals a while back, and the Cubs. It
was funny in that interview I saw with Brett Strom that I referenced last week. They were talking about Jason Castro, the new catcher for the Astros, and he said, "Yeah, times have really changed since the last time you were here." And I just went back to like when Jason Castro's first year with the Rockets with the Astros, and their top 4 starting pitchers, and according to innings pitched, were Brett Myers, Wandy Rodriguez, Bud Norris, and the ghost of Roy Oswalt.
Oh my Lord.
And J.A. Happ was on that team.
What a team. Wow.
Oh my God. This is
hey, for those people wondering, how the hell did the Astros get so bad and then become so good all of a sudden? Was it the trash can?
Hey, no. you know who pitched 1 inning in that 2010 season for the Astros?
No, who?
Kevin Cash.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Mark Melanson pitched 17 innings. I never even knew he played for the Astros.
I didn't know either. That's a new
I thought he was like straight up from the Pirates system.
Hey man, the Astros, they from the get-go, they always knew how to develop those players, and now they're on everybody's major league team, for better or for worse, and spreading their cheating ways all over like a virus, like a COVID virus, right? The Mariners, we talked about their Mariners. We like their farm system. We just don't know if Jerry Dipoto will be patient enough with them. I guess I don't know. He definitely will get rid of a lot of veterans. So, but that's still a team in work in progress. They have a lot of veterans on that team. I just don't trust. They're also going with a 6-man rotation. I'm assuming you don't like their 6-man rotation.
Their 6-man rotation. I like less than the Angels.
Yeah.
Simply because Chris Flexen is in it, and Chris Flexen, former Met pitcher, went over to the KBO, did pretty well, but he's just so boring. But he does fit the archetype of that we've talked about with Mariners pitching prospects, is that they're command over stuff guys. And it's definitely more so in the case in Flexen's, where his stuff is not very good at all, but he does have pretty good command. I think the name people need to re-highlight and hop back on the bandwagon of both James Paxton and Yusei Kikuchi. I say
Kakachi. Get it?
The 6-man rotation, I think, is really going to help James Paxton hopefully stay healthy. He looked great in his last spring training outing, was sitting like 95, 96. So velocity was back, which was the big thing that had a lot of people worried about Paxton after 2020, was the velocity was just gone.
Yeah.
But this is going to be an interesting team that after the All-Star break, when their young guys start coming up, I'm expecting Kalenic to be up in April after the 2 weeks for service time, whatever. But when this team gets on all cylinders, maybe one of their George Kirby,
Mhm.
or I'm trying to remember the other one who's
I have it
Logan
up,
Gilbert.
but
Logan Gilbert. There you go. Maybe
yeah.
one of those two guys are pitching for the big league team by that point. This team could really. They're kind of like the Royals, except it might take them a little bit longer to get started.
I disagree. I think that you're gonna see a lot of the Mariners minor league like highly touted prospects get called up sooner rather than later. I think the Royals are gonna take their sweet time on their end. I think the Mariners, you could see some of those, like you mentioned, for all the reasons you mentioned, they might get rid of a lot of their veteran players and get these young guys up and running. And some of the young guys you guys got to keep an eye on for the Mariners. Uh, Lee J. Newsom, you might see him. He's not the a
I
highly
love
ranked.
LJ Newsom.
Okay, so you like him, but he's not a highly ranked prospect on
Nope.
that team. But it's a guy to keep an eye on. Logan
Especially
Gilbert,
if they stick with the 6-man rotation, like
yeah,
for a long time.
Logan Gilbert, you mentioned, who is highly regarded. Emerson Hancock, you might see him next year, but still highly regarded. George Kirby,
I think George Kirby could move fast.
He's projected to go early 2022, but like I mentioned him because you mentioned him, and if you think he's going to go fast, then keep an eye on him. Then you mentioned Jerry Kelenic, Julio Rodriguez. It's a fun team to keep an eye on because of just how exciting their future looks to be. But again, they got some work to do here. And of course, the Rangers, who just might be they and the Tigers might just be the worst team in all of Major League Baseball. So,
but hey, if Joey Gallo bats 250, a lot of my spring training, a lot of my fantasy drafts so far look really good because I have a lot of shares of Joey Gallo. It's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, so Fangraphs, I think, has the Tigers as much worse than the Rangers. I think it's a lot closer than that. Any positives about the Rangers? I mean, it's not fair to just dismiss them like that, Sean.
Not really. I don't see it. Maybe David Dahl stays healthy and actually puts up a good year. Nate Lowe, free Nate Lowe season's in full effect, and he does awesome. But I've seen some stuff in spring training that really has me worried about Nate Lowe, and that he can't hit velocity. Somebody's looked at his numbers versus anything over like 93 or 94 miles an hour, which is troublesome because if you can't hit a major league fastball, you're not going to last a very long time.
Matt Bushnell, the Audible football podcast over at Football Life, says that Mariners might hit the 500 mark this year. I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible, especially in that weak division. But somebody has to finish in fourth, and the Mariners look like a really nice fourth place team there. And he wants to know how we view Kyle Lewis. I think I talked enough about Kyle Lewis at this point in this podcast. I don't trust him at all. But
I was asking one of my Mariners beat guys. He writes for Pitchers List, Michael Hato. I don't want to butcher his name, but I think I just did. But Mitch Haniger has looked really good and is planted in that leadoff spot to start the year. Kyle Lewis is I think battling an injury. They're not even sure if he's going to be on the opening day roster because of it. Taylor Trammell, former top prospect for the Reds and Padres, has been told he is going to make the roster. And he's a guy that I've always liked. He's going to take the starting left field job. But if Kyle Lewis isn't good to go, Trammell could end up in center. Jared Kelenic's going to be up in 2 weeks. So whose job does he take? Does he take Trammell's? Does he take Kyle Lewis? Is Mitch Haniger still on the team? There are a lot of question marks to the point where I'm not even sure if Kyle Lewis is a starting outfielder in a year. At this point next year, Kyle Lewis might not be a starter. And I don't trust him for all the reasons Felipe doesn't trust him. I think there's big swing and miss issues there. I do think he has, legit power, but I think it's going to come with a really risky hit tool. And I think his 260 can turn into 225 real fast. And that's what worries me.
The other thing about Kyle Lewis is that we got to remember that he started out as a 40-45 prospect maybe a year or two ago. So he was already having to make that big climb to relevance, which he did. He won Rookie of the Year, but it just seems like it's smoke and mirrors. I just want to quickly mention some names for the Rangers. David Dahl, Reclamation Project. You mentioned Joey Gallo. Nick Solak should be a good player to keep an eye on. Nate Lowe is kind of disappointing to hear what you just said about him. Leody Taveras,
and he's a guy that I've always been so high on too.
Yeah, ditto. Leody Taveras, I know Sean doesn't like him, but for fantasy purposes, you got to keep an eye on him, or at least you almost are at a point you got to snatch him up for the cheap stolen bases. I mean, he's projected to get up 20 plus, so that's reason enough to like him. Kyle Gibson's still on the team, or is the ace of that team, I should say. Dane Dunning.
Their entire bullpen is just falling apart in the last week and a half.
I mean, Ian Kennedy is
Jonathan Hernandez, Jose Leclerc, Brett Martin, and Joely Rodriguez. 3 of the 4 guys that we've been saying we're going to be the closers like the last 3 years are all injured for an extensive period of time. I think they're talking about Leclerc having to get Tommy John again, I think. Jonathan Hernandez, they're both dealing with elbows. They said Hernandez is only sprained, but Leclerc is discomfort that they haven't diagnosed yet, I don't think.
Matt Bush is in the hunt for the closer spot. Not Matt Bushnell, but Matt Bush without the Nell. Actually, Nell in Italian means without. So there you go. without Bushnell. Willie Calhoun, Chris Davis are also hurt. Is any prospects?
I like Willie Calhoun still. I think he's a nice little post type sleeper guy. He's just got to stay healthy.
Josh Jung is their big shot third baseman. He's still a work in progress. He might show up later this year, though. We'll see. And Yerry Rodriguez was highly regarded in terms of being in the 150, top 150 for Fangraphs, and that's pretty much it. There's really nothing here. The cupboard's kind of bare. All right, so I asked for last minute predictions. Matt Bushman wants to know if he should go after Dane Dunning in his fantasy team.
It really depends. I think he is a guy you could target. I think he's probably the best pitcher on that entire rotation, him or Kyle Gibson. But if the Rangers ballpark plays small or plays big like it did last year, I think that plays right into Dane Dunning's specialty. So he's definitely a keep an eye on. I don't go out of my way and draft him, but he's a guy I would keep an eye on.
And just to show you how much of a married couple Sean and I are at this point, once again, mirror images of each other. We got the Dodgers.
This Padres. Is the most boring division in baseball. We really don't need to spend time here. It's Dodgers, Padres. The Padres could be 100-win wild card team. And then the next 3 teams, the Giants kind of want to win and they kind of don't care. And then the D-backs and Rockies are just...
okay. So you mean it's uninteresting or boring because it's pretty predictable? But
yes, it's so predictable.
But it's probably the most exciting division in the National League. Well, no, the National League East. We'll get to them in a little bit, but Dodgers and Padres have all the big name players, the exciting players everybody kind of been keeping an eye on. Giants should be interesting in third place. The Diamondbacks, their future looks kind of bright. We'll get to it in a little bit, and the Rockies might be the worst run franchise in all of Major League Baseball. So. With all that being said, Dodgers, Padres, that should be your 1-2 punch. Padres I think they're going to get the wild card. I am so sorry. Let's go back to the American League. Who were your 2 wild card teams there, Sean?
Let me pull it up. I had it. Oh, God.
Let me stop sharing for a little bit so I can fix that.
Wild card for the American League, Yankees and Twins.
Okay, so Yankees. Who's number 1? Yankees. Who gets home field advantage in that 50%
Yankees.
team?
Yankees.
Okay, so that's your W1. And the Twins?
Yes.
All right, let's fix that as well. All right, pick that. So I figure you got. Oh man, why you got to torture those poor Twins fans, bro?
Hey, maybe they sneak one out this year.
No, it doesn't look like it. No. All right, so what the hell? Oh, there they are. So there's a Yankees wild card for Sean, Twins wild card for Sean. So I don't know why it's doing that. Let's stop. Okay. All right. Okay. Now it's just freaking me out here.
What's that Twin C13 doing? God.
It did a formula. Well, let's get going. National League West. Dodgers. They're the same team we've been bragging and talking about for the last 3 or 4 years. They still should be good to go. I almost was this close to putting the Padres just like to make that bold prediction, but I just can't do it.
I can't do it. There's no way.
Dodgers are just too loaded, and we don't need to talk about the Dodgers. They're just most resources, best team pound for pound, and they have all these minor league players just waiting to, either get traded for more veteran pieces or just contribute to the team right now. They're the best at doing that. The Padres, they're trying to be like the Rays a little bit, but they're not as strict as Henry Maldonado of the Dong City podcast will tell you. They're not as strict in terms of the analytics as the Rays are, but they still have a very good lineup. Their rotation is miles away better than last year's. And their bullpen, oh man, I love their bullpen. I just wish Drew Pomeranz wasn't hurt right now. But
you like their bullpen? I'm actually I don't want to look at it. It's like I like Pomeranz, but Pagan I'm tired of. Mark Melancon I'm tired of. Keona Kella I'm tired of. And after that, it's
when
boring.
in doubt, I whenever I need a bullpenner, I always look at the Padres or in the Rays or the Padres first. But let's see who else. Pagan, I know you don't like him. Pierce Johnson, we talked about before, as a guy who can what do you
Big
call
old
it?
slider.
Big old slider. He's projected to get 66 strikeouts in 57 innings. That's a lot to like about. Tim Hill is on that as a lefty specialist, sort of. Craig Stammen, who's now Craig Stammen has always been a guy I keep an eye on for years now, and now he's kind of become like the veteran elder statesman at the age of 37 years old.
He has just stuck around for, 4 years in 2017, 2018, 2019, coming out of the bullpen, 80 innings, 79 innings, 82 innings. Talk about a rubber arm. And he was like that way even his last few years in Washington. So kudos to you, Craig Stammen.
I'm telling you, man. Let's see, where does the Padres are the number 4 ranked bullpen according to Fangraphs depth chart. So
I can see it.
Yeah, you don't like them, but you can see it.
They have more quantity than quality, in my opinion.
Hey, man, that's all you need to make it through a 162 game season, bro. That's all you need. I think they got some injured guys too. Jose Castillo. Oh, Tommy John surgery. Never mind. Matt Strahm also he has a
knee
tendon
injury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine if this team was healthy, how much stronger they would look. But unfortunately, injuries play a part, and they still have a really good bullpen regardless. The Giants we talk about as that sneaky team that could just be a thorn on a lot of teams' sides in the National League. Sean, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. I don't know what happened.
I think that they could be a really good team for batting average. Like I could see them leading all of baseball in batting average, and somebody might take like a victory lap over that. But you look at their hitters, Dickerson, Yastrzemski, La Stella, Donovan Solano, and Donovan Solano could win the batting title. Wilmer Flores, all guys that hit for very good averages, but the pitching is not pretty in terms of the starting rotation. I know you love Kevin Gausman. I know you love Kevin Gausman, but I don't see it. Gausman, Desclafani, Cueto, and one of the Logan Webbs. There's like 3 of them in baseball, or Logan Allen. It's so confusing.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, it's a veteran team. There's not a lot of prospects coming up, but I think it's a team that's just dumb enough to just win about 81 games.
And it'll be like they were a couple of years ago. And they had that really hot streak going into the trade deadline, and they were buyers, even though they were supposed to be sellers that year. Yeah. And they ended up not making the playoffs anyway. So probably going to happen again.
Just a couple of names I want to mention. I think you mentioned them already as well. Desclafani and Aaron Sanchez.
Yeah, I was just about to say Aaron Sanchez. I was looking up his spring training numbers right as you mentioned him. The ghost of Aaron Sanchez, who's still only 28 years old, but has not looked good in spring training so far.
28 is a new 31. But hey, you know what? Softer ball. I forgot what the thing was with these balls this year. But if it's not a hard
less
ball,
less bouncy.
Okay, so if it's not a hard ball like Aaron Sanchez has been complaining about when he was in Toronto, that should mean less blisters.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's less bouncy,
he's had major, I believe, shoulder surgery since the blisters, though, too.
Listen, man, I know I didn't draft these guys, these Desclafanis, the Aaron Sanchez's of the world, but that big ballpark does miracles. I'm telling you, man. I expect.
How many miracles did it do for Jeff Samardzija?
Oh, well, I mean, he wasn't good to begin with. There, I said it. Cub fans loved him, and like, man, you can't have a football player be your ace of the starting rotation. Get out of here.
Okay, so Aaron Sanchez is actually listed as the number 5 starting pitcher for the Giants right now. That's
why I'm mentioning it.
That is hilarious.
But I'm telling you, man, big ballpark. I think that it's not going to be the big jump that Kevin Gausman see, but I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised, and it's one of those guys for fantasy purposes, you keep an eye on just in case something materializes there. Now, you mentioned Dodgers and Padres, but that's 2 tough teams in that division. But I countered that by saying D-backs and Rockies, although Colorado is not a happy place to play. But anyway, Jake McGee's on the team, so that's something.
Yay, Jake McGee.
Yeah,
I mean he's on the Giants.
Yeah. Reyes Moronta, who we talked about before. If he could, they still don't know who their closer is. So, but I think that's going to be a decent 500 team. The D-backs, we get to Arizona now. Like I said, it's more about a
I could see the D-backs in a best case scenario being better than the Giants.
It's possible. It's possible. Again, that's another veteran-built team, but it's just not. There's no superstars on that team. Not at least.
I think Ketel Marte is being slept on.
Yeah, well, there's reason for that. So we'll see if he bounces back to his. I forgot what was a good year for him. Was it
2019?
Okay, well, we'll see. There's a lot to like about here, but I don't compared to the Dodgers and Padres and even maybe the Giants. Yeah, they'll be lucky to get to third place. Their rotation is just. Aside, now that what's his face
Zach Gallen.
Thank you, Zach Gallen is gone. They look even more mediocre. Madison Bumgarner is now SP number 1. Maybe Madison Bumgarner purposely injured Zach Gallen.
He said now another pitcher can be injured and get labeled as injury prone.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be there opening day. Me at 32 years old or whatever age he's at. So that's a work in progress. The bullpen, Joakim Soria, who you mentioned last week, you like him, but you're not in love with him.
I like Crichton more than Soria, and I feel weird about saying that, but I do. The names to really keep an eye on back there are Kevin Ginkel. He's had really bad control issues since making his first debut with the Diamondbacks, but he has all the makings of a potential closer. Chris Davinsky, maybe a bounce back candidate.
Yeah. And
then JB Bukauskas, who always seemed destined for the bullpen with his control and the fact he only really had 2 great pitches. But if JB Bukauskas gets called up this year, he's someone that I really like in that Diamondbacks bullpen.
Other names to keep an eye on: Dalton Varsho, who you know how much I love him. I mentioned him in the previous podcast, so keep an eye on him. Christian Robinson, who I'm a big fan of. Just every time I read about him, I get more excited.
Oh, Christian Robinson's not playing for the Diamondbacks this year. There's no way.
But just
okay, gotcha. I was about to say he's like still in A ball and he's barely played.
you might, if you're lucky, you might see Alec Thomas get called up this year, but he's projected to come in at 2022. But
I just think their outfield right now is set. I don't think we see Alec Thomas, Corbin Carroll, or Christian Robinson for a few years. I think Ketel Marte and Tim Castro are going to share center field. It looks like. Okay. David Peralta is still there. Is he ever going to leave?
No. He saw. Yeah, I mean, he probably should follow AJ Pollock's direction and just go to a better team. But people like Arizona. Look at Matt Bushnell, right? Corbin, you mentioned Corbin Carroll. Well, they also have a pitcher named Corbin Martin. He might show up later this year. We'll see.
He was a part of he was the centerpiece really of that Zach Greinke trade. He had just undergone Tommy John when they traded him. But one hitter who is slated to probably be a starter coming out of the gates that people haven't heard of for the Arizona Diamondbacks is Josh Rojas, who was also involved in the Zach Greinke trade. He was in the Houston system in that Houston team or Houston AAA team in 2019. He was one of the best hitters in all of baseball. In AAA, if I can pull it up. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, in AAA, Josh Rojas is a 339, 430, 623 hitter. That's an OPS over 1,000. He has had a great spring training, batting 338 on base over right around 400, 6 walks, 17 strikeouts, which is a little worrying, but he's getting a lot of playing time in spring, which usually when you see that, especially late, newsflash, they probably have a job somewhere. So he could fill in at any one of several places: second base, shortstop, right field might be the clearest path for him right now with Cole Calhoun injured. But another favorite of mine, Pavin Smith, could also pick up that right field job as well.
To the Rockies, and this is a garbage team. It's a problem when I think I'm the guy I'm most excited for this year is CJ Cron, and he's 31 years old. But this is a team who has had a lot of projects and a lot of players come up their system and just not be able to click in the major league level. And they also done some dumbass moves by signing some veterans that they shouldn't have signed. Maybe including CJ Cron, but I'm excited for him, man. I think this is a good bounce back year now that he's planted as a first baseman in Colorado. But aside from the Trevor Stories of the world and Charlie Blackmon, who Matt Bushnell was hitting me up on, was it Friday night or Saturday morning? I forgot which day it was, but asking me a million questions about Charlie Blackmon, and I think we talked about him numerous times. But Charlie Blackmon still
batting average. He is. Yeah, but I mean, he's no longer the 5 category guy he was, and he hasn't been that guy for several years now. But he's probably one of the easiest bets for a 300 average and at least 150 runs and RBIs combined.
Yeah, and
But I think there's a lot of steals hidden on this Rockies team, which in terms of actual, not steals as in guys to draft and they're going to be really good, but legitimate stolen bases. Hampson can run. Raimel Tapia can run. Sam Hilliard can run. And they're a bad team, and bad teams usually tend to be the ones that run a lot.
Look at the Royals.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Sean, maybe you can out of that hitting lineup, which young player, let's say besides the Trevor Stories of the world, which young player do you actually like on that team that's slated to start this upcoming season?
I don't think he's slated to start right now. I'd have to pull it up. I really do like Sam Hilliard. I think he is kind of like Charlie Blackmon light, but yeah, he's started to be in center field right now. The only question with Sam Hilliard is he has a big strikeout problem, something that I don't think Charlie Blackmon ever really dealt with. But when you combine Hilliard's speed and power, he's an absolute game changer. I mean, in 2019, he had 35 home runs and 22 stolen bases in 125 games in AAA. 2017, 133 games in high A ball, 21 home runs, 37 stolen bases. So those are categories that, he really adds up in, and you just have to worry about his batting average. But if you're playing half your games at Coors Field, I don't worry about it as much. Oh, and it seems like I lost Felipe, so we will keep this going. We are going to the National League Central now. Let me go ahead and try and make sure we get Felipe back in here. That was kind of, he just up and left me like that. That's not very cool. Anyone still with me on the stream? I see we are still live, so we are going to keep this going. There you go. And of course, he took his projections and predictions with us. So I will just share mine as we go to the National League Central. Felipe lost his internet. He is letting me know. Oh, and he's back.
Okay. I don't know what the hell happened there.
You're back? So. Okay, there you go.
All right. Where did you leave off?
We haven't even gotten out of the West yet. I was just about to move on to the Central.
Who were you talking about at the end over there? Who were you talking about at the end? I missed like.
Sam Hilliard. Sam Hilliard.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Rockies. The pitching sucks. The bullpen sucks. Everything sucks about them. Any minor leaguers to look after? Not.
No. Josh Fuentes maybe as the third baseman, but that's really it.
Anyway, that's a really bad team. Let's go to the Central, like you mentioned. Brewers. Let's start with me. So this is a lot of differences here. I got the Brewers in first, the Cardinals in second, Reds, Cubs, Pirates. Over at Sean's side, you want to go ahead, Sean?
Do you want to pull up the spreadsheet?
Oh,
I have it.
Sorry, no, I assumed that it was still up there. Sorry about that.
No, it went away when you did.
Yeah, that's usually how it happens. Okay, so like I mentioned, Brewers, Cardinals, Reds, Cubs, Pirates. Sean has the Reds, the Brewers, the Cardinals, the Cubs, and the Pirates. So Brewers and then the Reds. Oh, I forgot to ask. Any Padres are your wild card number one as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's just put it up on the board. Okay, so there it is. Let's start with you, Sean. The Reds. Any of these four teams can win a division.
Yeah, it's actually I think it's a 3-team race. I think the Cubs don't have a shot. I think the Cubs unload Chris Bryant and maybe even Wilson Contreras before the season's out. I think they're throwing in the towel about through July. But I mean, Brewers, Cardinals, Reds, all three have. This was the hardest one to do, and it's probably going to be in real life, just because none of the teams are great. They're all pretty good, and they all have some, obvious warts. For the Reds, it's their defense. For the Brewers, it's their starting pitching depth. For the Cardinals, it's does the outfield hit enough? I mean, they have some obvious good offensive weapons, Goldschmidt, a Coors less, Nolan Arenado, but they all have some severe pauses. And I just think the Reds have the most high-end talent, both in the pitching rotation, in the bullpen, and among the position players. So that was why I picked them.
Yeah, that's why I picked them over the Reds, and that's why I picked the Reds over the Cubs in third place. Their lineup is just, I don't know, it's just too inconsistent for me. They have is I don't know, man. It's I don't think it's consistent enough for my liking, and that's why I'm compared to the Brewers and Cardinals. I think the Reds still are still trying out some pieces. They're trying to figure things out. I do love the fact that Eugenio Suarez is going to be a shortstop.
Oh,
I
God.
love that.
That actually makes me want to move them into second place because the Reds were already likely going to be one of the worst defensive teams in baseball, starting guys like Nick Castellanos and Jesse Winker. And now you're putting Eugenio Suarez at shortstop. Oh, shivers.
Who was their shortstop to begin with? I know that wasn't the plan to
Well,
begin with.
remember they got rid of I believe they had Freddie Galvis on the roster.
Yeah.
And they were going to go after guys like Didi Gregorius and Marcus Simeon, and they whiffed on both. And if it wasn't Suarez at shortstop, they were looking at Kyle Farmer, the catcher turned utility infielder. Yeah, they had no options at shortstop. Although, what was their prospect? He had a good spring training last year. I believe it's Jose Garcia.
Okay.
I always confuse Jose Garcia and Luis Garcia, but it could be really bad watching defense on this team.
Yeah, I think Mike Freeman was supposed to, I think at one point was also slated to be a starting shortstop for this team, and looks like he's going to be on the bench. But yeah, like I said, if there was a more consistent lineup, because at any point they can go ahead and sit Jesse Winker down and replace him with, I don't know, Aristides Aquino or something like that. So
yeah, like I see Castellanos. Are they going to move Castellanos back to third base and then Moustakas to second base and then open up an everyday job for Aquino? Because Aquino is out of options. There were several players around Major League Baseball that had to go to an arbitrator to see if they had a fourth option year left due to the shortened season. And Aquino's came back and said he does not. So he has to be on the active roster, or he cannot be sent down without being going through waivers. So interesting development there.
And you still have Shogo Akiyama on the mend right now. He's on the injured list right now, so he could take at bats away from Nick Senzel or any other, or maybe even Jesse Winker.
Yeah. I think he formed some sort of platoon with Nick Senzel, and then Nick Senzel kind of plays everywhere.
All right, let's move on. Well, let's go to the Brewers. As mentioned on when was it that I was having this discussion with the sensitive Cub fans? Was it Friday? Yeah, it was Friday. Just one after another. These projections don't like the Cubs. The Cubs are the best team ever. But the Brewers, dude, their pitching is just lights out. I've been clamoring for the Brewers to get more attention because I just absolutely love their pitching. I wish their offense was a little bit more consistent, but I think their pitching is strong enough to kind of carry them. It's the opposite effect of what the Blue Jays are doing, where I love their lineup, and I think their lineup is their position players are going to kind of carry them into the promised land. It's the opposite with the Brewers. I think their pitching, they have enough pitching to get them over the top. And I know that once you go outside Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns, you go with guys like Adrian Hauser and Brett Anderson and maybe Freddie Peralta, Josh Lindblom. I think that's still a nice mix of a starting rotation.
I like that first 5 or 6 guys for a rotation. My worry is what happens if one of them goes down. Because the guys behind that, hey, they recently signed Jordan Zimmerman, the biggest thief in all of Major League history. So he's still alive. I worry about the bullpen if and when Hader gets traded.
They still got obviously Eric Lauer.
Obviously they still have some guys back there. It's just, and I hate their infield. Their infield is like makes me want to vomit.
It looks a lot better now, though. And we'll get to it, but I just wanted to point out that they also have a guy named Zach Brown. He has a band.
Yes, yeah, that was a good one.
I knew you would appreciate it. But here's the infield that Sean's talking about. Keston Hero at first, Colton Wong at second. Dong City mentioned how they went after guys like Colton Wong and Jackie Bradley just because they want to rely on pitching and defense alone. So Colton Wong's one of the better defensive second basemen. You put Keston Hero at first and kind of hide his whatever defensive incapabilities that he might have. And then you got Lorenzo Cain and Jackie Bradley in the outfield. But yeah, so getting back to the infield, sorry, I got distracted because I remember Dong City talking about that. Colton Wong, Keston Hiura, Luis Urias, who we're still waiting for. And if not Luis Urias, Orlando Arcia is there waiting to take that spot. And Travis Shaw is back at third base. So they got some pieces. And Daniel Robertson as well. We talked about him. I
don't see it. I don't see enough offense. especially compared to the Reds or to even the Cardinals. I think it'll do wonders for their pitching, but it's like they either have really good defenders, at second base with Wong, or in the outfield where you have now Lorenzo Cain, JBJ, and Christian Yelich, I think, is an underrated defender and always has been.
Yeah.
I know he probably goes a little less hard now that he's making a bunch of money and has a bulky knee. But then you look at some of the other defenders. Keston Hiura is a bad defender. Luis Urias is a bad defender. I mean, especially at shortstop.
Well, that's where Orlando
Travis Shaw is kind of okay, I think. I always forget about Travis Shaw. But it's I don't see it. I don't see it at all.
Well, if they fail, they got pieces on the bench waiting. Daniel Robertson, who we talked about, he's like their Swiss Army knife utility guy. He could become like a Ben Zobrist, a Diamond Nickel Ben Zobrist version of that. Avisail Garcia and Billy McKinney provide outfield depth. Manny Pena for Omar Narvaez at catcher. So, yeah, they lack punch. But like I mentioned on Friday, I've seen Christian Yelich carry this team before. If he's fully healthy and hitting on all cylinders, he could do it again. It's kind of an Easter Sunday theme there. He was gone and he will be risen and he will come again. So that's the Brewers. That's why I
just want Daniel Vogelbach to get 500 plate appearances. Is that too much to ask for?
He's not even on the freaking lineup. Where is he? Oh, he's
on the bench.
No, he's listed at AAA according to roster resources.
Oh, I didn't think he had any options remaining. That's interesting.
All right, well, yeah. Hey, if you want that big bat, it'll be coming soon. Once.
They say he has no options remaining, so they're gonna have to. He will be exposed to waivers if they option him. Because I was to say he should be. I like Vogelbach.
Yeah,
20 grade speed. I love it.
If he was a
20 grade speed, I think that's the lowest I've ever seen.
If there's a there's always 10 speed on a bike. With bicycles, right? No, hold on now. If there was a designated hitter, yeah, Daniel Vogelbach would have been on this roster according to roster resource, but there is no designated hitter, and that's a crime. The bullpen guys, I know the bullpen guys, something that Cubs fans mentioned on Friday in the baseball group, Baseball Life on Facebook, that a lot of the guys that on the bullpen are unproven, like Devin Williams. He's only pitched a few innings in his career, and Josh Hader's overused, and Brent Suter is overused, and all these guys everybody's overused, right? There's a lot to like here, though. You know what I told the Cubs fans, if the Cubs had this this pitching staff right now, they would be the best team, but they don't. So I gotta love the Brewers.
Cardinals, I think everyone is always, and I've been guilty of it too, is when you're trying to draft and find relief pitchers, everyone always spends the premium on the Josh Haders, on the Devin Williams, instead of trying to find the next Josh Hader or Devin Williams. And I think that they have a couple of these guys already for the Brewers. So I'm going to drop two names for you. Drew Rasmussen. Not 100% sure. He has been awesome. They have him stretched out as kind of like the multi-inning role because they have said that Josh Hader is going to be exclusively, in air quotes, used as a traditional closer. So interesting development there. And then this guy probably, Rasmussen's going to be in the bullpen, I believe, to start the year. This guy probably won't. He's going to go back down to the minors, but could be called back up. And that's left-hander Aaron Ashby. Yep. He's been a starter for most of his career in the minors, but he's got a wicked breaking ball, good fastball, and just as long as the command stays somewhat decent and not terrible, he could be a really useful weapon either in the Brewers rotation or in their bullpen.
I'm disappointed that Aaron Ashby is not related to Andy Ashby.
Oh,
darn. Yeah. Oh, well. The Cardinals, moving on to the Cardinals. I have him in second. You have him in third. This should be the more stable organization. Yet we have them missing the playoffs unless you haven't listed something here, Sean.
No, I have them just missing.
So and we look. I mean, I've been looking at it, it's pretty deep, and I don't like the rotation outside of Jack Flaherty. And they're still their bullpen is still not in shambles, but there's no defined roles as of yet. It shouldn't matter, but it really is bothering me that they don't have a closer just yet. They don't have their late inning guys set up yet, because they're still battling for that closer position. And once you get away from all those closer guys, there's a big drop off. And I figure maybe it's just me. Maybe I just hate the Cardinals. Maybe I just have bias because I'm a Cub fan. And let me just double check where Fangraphs has them at. But go ahead. Why don't you like the Cardinals on your end over there?
Because they could be one of the best defensive teams in history, and I don't think it's going to work. I believe, Harrison Bader is out for the first month. I believe he had a back issue or no, forearm. So he had a PRP injection in his arm. That's going to be about a month. But you're looking at a team that already has 3 starters all on the injured list, and they don't really know when they're coming back. Dakota Hudson had Tommy John right before the season got underway last year, or halfway through. I can't remember exactly. KBO guy that they had from 2 years ago, Mr. Kim. I'm not going to even try and say the first two.
Kwang Hyung Kim. And by the way, Dakota Hudson, September 28th was his surgery.
Okay, yeah. So, and then Miles Michaelis, who, another guy who they kind of revived from, I think he was KBO. He might have been MPB. But like you said, that rotation outside of Flaherty, Wainwright has had a good spring, and he actually had a pretty good 2020.
I know, I had him last year.
Carlos Martinez, Daniel Ponce de Leon, and John Gant just don't really. John Gant I actually like more than most, but Carlos Martinez I am just about done with, and Ponce de Leon is, he's not the explorer.
You mentioned a bunch of guys there who were, when this spring started, when spring training started in February, a lot of these guys were listed on their bullpen, which is great. That brings up that vaunted Cardinals depth. And now we're days away from opening day, and they already are reaching into their bullpen to plug guys into the rotation. So they're already in midseason form in terms of that. That's how awful and bad the situation with the pitching is in St. Louis. When everybody's healthy and everybody's hitting on all cylinders, this team looks great. I mean, I just saw that Fangraphs has them as the 11th best relief pitching core in all of baseball, but the rotations just leaves lots of desire. And they're hitting for some reason. Sean, you're not going to believe this, but Fangraphs has their hitting at number 18th overall. The Brewers are 19th. Now, that's a whole buy or sell situation there, but that speaks volumes that
the Brewers have a Yelich, to quote the Avengers. Yeah. We have a Yelich.
We have a Yelich. That's the reason why the Angels look so good, because they have both Trout and Rendon.
Yeah.
But even with Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado, the numbers don't like those. They don't like this team in terms of their offense for whatever reason.
It's a good offense. It's not a great offense.
Yeah.
Now, it could very well turn into a great offense if Dylan Carlson hits like we know he can. If Tyler O'Neill keeps up his great spring training. But I see a lot of pitfalls for this team. The one issue I see right now is Tommy Edman is slated to play second base, and Matt Carpenter, who's been there for forever, is projected to come off the bench.
Yeah.
But with the injury to Harrison Bader, right now, from what's happened in spring training and what roster resource is showing me, is Dylan Carlson goes to center. Tyler O'Neill goes from right field to left field. Edmonds staying at second base, and then they're going to try and get by with either O'Neill in one of the corner spots and a combination of Justin Williams, Austin Dean, Lane Thomas, or even one of my favorites, John Nagowski, who's more of a first baseman, but he's had the best spring training out of all those guys. They might throw him in the other corner outfield spot. Yeah. But what could also happen, which I haven't really seen, Tommy Edman could go from second base to left field. They can get Matt Carpenter back into the lineup because, they'll bend over backwards to get him in there.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see what that happens. So right now, Tommy Edman, I really like, but it's if he gets moved down the lineup for Matt Carpenter, I'm going to have a absolute, I don't even know, explosion.
Man, and it's just so frustrating because every year you hear about these prospects for the Cardinals and they get called up and they're just ordinary. Like you mentioned, Tyler O'Neill, Dylan Carlson is not projected to have an outstanding year, 317 on base percentages according to depth charts projections. It's just something's lacking in that team. And for that reason, I have them in second because it's still the most stable franchise in that division. Yeah. But you have them in third for those very reasons. The Cubs, we both have them in fourth place. Man, oh man. I love their lineup. I really, really do. There's just too many question marks, and this team has let us down. I mean, you heard it from Cubs fans. After they got eliminated by the Marlins, you saw them come out of the woodwork and just say how shitty this team is and how underachieving
they should have never made the playoffs to begin with. It's how they got there, how they won their division last year, blew my mind because they won the division, right?
They won a division as
Yeah.
predicted by yours truly last year. But no,
They had no place there.
They shouldn't have lost to the freaking Marlins, and that should
the
tell you all you need
Marlins
to
were a
know.
better team than them.
Garbage ass team.
They were a
Marlins.
better team. They had a better record too.
Yeah. The Marlins.
Yes, the Marlins.
The COVID champions. No, come on, man. Stop that.
The COVID champions.
But, there's still a lot of good pieces here with Ian Happ, Wilson Contreras, Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant at the top of that lineup. And then after that, you see the massive dip. Javier Baez, we still don't know what he's made, what kind of player he is. Is he going to be Tim Anderson like he has been for like the first couple of seasons with his wild swinging ways? Or is he going to be another disappointing 301 on-base percentage guy? So they got rid of Kyle Schwarber and replaced him with Jock Peterson, who it's
the same player.
The better defensively. I believe in Jock Peterson's defensive skills.
I don't think Jock's a very good fielder. There's a reason that the Dodgers are starting to play him a lot at first base too.
Well, have you seen Kyle Schwarber trying to track fly balls? It's pretty adventurous. But what Kyle Schwarber did have was a cannon for an arm, and I'm gonna miss that in left field for sure. And then the bench is just almost non-existent. This is not the deepest Cubs. This has been one of the weakest benches for the Cubs that I've seen in a very long time since, I would say Theo Epstein took over, but Theo Epstein's gone now. You look at their rotation, it's just a bunch of soft tossing pitchers out there. You could be a soft tossing pitcher and still dominate, but I don't see any of these guys dominate. Maybe
since 2017, Jock Peterson has a negative 25 outs above average. I think Schwarber's is actually lower, lower as in closer to average. I think he's only like minus 17, but continue. I just wanted to let you know how bad Jock Peterson is.
Yeah. I want to see how bad Kyle Schwarber is, if he is bad at all, according to you, to the stat you just pulled up there, if you can. But since we're on the subject, let's see what the other numbers state for Jock Peterson, who at one point was supposed to be a 5-tool player coming up the Dodgers. And now he's become kind of a borderline platoon player.
I lied. Kyle Schwarber's at minus 28. But I believe that is with he played more in 2020 and he ended up with minus 4. Jock Peterson only ended up with like minus 1 in 2020. But I think that was a playing time thing there. Right. But yeah, Kyle Schwarber's really bad.
According to, now let's go with the Fangraph stuff. The defensive runs above saves. I know that's kind of an archaic number at this point, but Jock Peterson negative 3, and according to UZR Ultimate Zone Rating, he's at 0.5. Might as well look into it. What did Schwarber do? So while with this thing pulls up, I was gonna say Kyle Hendricks might be someone that could dominate, but again, it's a tall order. I like Kyle Hendricks as a number 2, number 3 starter. As your ace, I don't know, man. That's a tough task. It's a real tough task. Why are you crying in Eloy Jimenez?
Oh, because Leon said Schwarber robbed a home run the other day, and that was how Eloy Jimenez got hurt. He was trying to rob a home run. He jumped over the fence, and his arm went too far, I guess.
Yeah, that is an ugly situation there with Eloy Jimenez. That was one of the worst injuries I've ever seen. Not to do hyperbole here, but okay. The offensive run save, negative 8 in the outfield for Kyle Schwarber, and UZR. Actually, UZR likes him. Oh, that's the oh shit. UZR likes him, 12.8. So mixed bag there, but it's mostly because of his arm. His arm's really good. What's his range? His range is 1.4. Okay. So there you go. Kyle Schwarber might be a better defensive left fielder than Jock Peterson, who, one guy's a 5-tool player coming up, and Schwarber was supposed to be a catcher turned into an outfielder, and now he's according to the numbers, it might be a better outfielder than Jock Peterson. So take that eye test. All right. Bullpen is still in shambles. It's all about Craig Kimbrell. If Kimbrell can just kind of like resurrect his career, and who was the guy we were talking about who was I made the Easter Sunday joke about earlier on this podcast. I forgot.
Oh goodness.
So about an hour.
Ryan Tepera was the MVP vote getter out of that bullpen last year. I mean, Pedro Strop, Shelby Miller. I don't know.
Oh, was it Ketel Martin? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Craig Kimbrell, they got Brandon Workman, who might be something, and Andrew Chaffin, who might be a something. They got Jason Adam, but it's all these unknown commodities, right? And they're supposed to get really good projections according to the depth chart. But then you look at the depth chart numbers, and the 18th best bullpen. 28th best starting rotation. I'm sorry, compared to the Brewers, and they only are going to have the 15th best hitting lineup. That's the Brewers get the edge because their pitching is so much better than the Cubs, and that's the reason I'm going to go for that one. Some guys to keep an eye on: Brennan Davis, but that's for next year, and Braylon Marquez, who we talked about in one of the prospect shows in the offseason. Anything else to add about the Cubs there, Sean, before we move on to the Pirates?
I don't. They're going to be so bad.
Speaking of really bad, I think they can win 76, 77 games, but I think that's their ceiling. I don't think it's going to get any better than that. As everybody's just going to beat up on the Pirates because the Pirates are just brutal. I mean, Brian Hayes, yeah, that's a good player, duh. And then it's just a bunch of nobodies on that team. The bench sucks. Their pitching sucks. The bullpen sucks. They play like diddly do, to quote Jim Mora there. Any saving grace on their major league roster that you see there, Sean?
For the Pirates, if I can pull it up fast enough, Kevin Newman, who has always been someone that we've looked at because he steals a little bit of bases. He had 16 stolen bases and 12 home runs in 130 games in 2019. His 2020 was just forgettable. He had all of 6 extra base hits. He just was not good at all. But in spring training, through 11 games and 34 plate appearances, so it's not like a small sample size. This is about, like 10 games. Kevin Newman is batting .714. He has 20 hits in 28 at bats. What? And he does have 2 stolen bases. 6 of those hits are doubles, so good for him. But maybe Kevin Newman's a guy. He's probably going to bat towards the top of the lineup. Like him, Brian Reynolds, and Brian Hayes probably create some sort of top 3 on their team. But there's really nothing to write home about here. Jared Oliva, maybe if you're trying to find some steals. I don't know.
Well, some quick young players to mention: Mitch Keller, who we talk about numerous times here. Rich Rodriguez might get some cheap saves, although he has Michael Feliz and Chris Stratton creeping up on him. A bunch of injured guys who are not worth mentioning. And I just want to mention some minor leaguers to keep an eye on for the future. Nick Gonzalez, who was a former first-round pick last year's draft, I should say. So O'Neal Cruz, who I can't wait to see that guy come up. I'm a big fan. I don't know if you are or not, but I'm looking forward to him.
The arm that I'm going to look at, he's actually on the roster right now, acquired from San Diego, I believe, in the Lucchesi Musgrove deal. David Bednar, I've liked him even while he was in the Padres minor league system. Solid fastball, very good splitter. Could be a sneaky Kirby Yates light, and he's done really well in spring training this year. The fastball is up to 99, 100 miles an hour. So anytime you could pair that, he's always had pretty good control. Let me pull up his spring training stats. Yeah, he's gone 8 1/3, 17 strikeouts to 1 walk. Only allowed 3 hits, so no runs, nothing like that. I think he could take the closer's role. I think he's the best pitcher in that bullpen.
And just to finish up the list of prospects, if you're a Pirates fan, you just got to have to kind of wait and look because they have some names that are interesting. Travis Swaggerty and the outfield, and then you get to the pitching, and you got Miguel Yahure, Quinn Priester, and Tanaj Thomas. And I'm probably butchering those names, but when I was doing my spreadsheets, my cheat sheets for this year, I saw those 3 pitchers of the Pirates. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Maybe there's some hope here because I really like how they're rated and how their makeup is built and their pedigree. So those 3 pitchers that I just mentioned, Yahure, Priester, and Thomas are names to keep an eye on. So National League East, we finally made it. Okay, so we have a couple of differences here. I'll start with myself here. Felipe has the Braves. The Mets are wild card number 2, the Nationals, the Phillies, and the Marlins. Sean has the Mets, the Braves, the Phillies, the Nationals, and the Marlins. So we both, they're such a good team last year that they're going to be in dead last this year. So fluky ass team over there.
Hey, I almost put the Nationals last. Almost did.
It's
and
possible.
I think the Nationals, if they just lose one of Scherzer, Strasburg, or Corbin to an injury, I would very, very, very quickly put the Marlins in front of them. Or if they lose Juan Soto or Trey Turner, then they're screwed. They are absolutely screwed.
Yeah, and I do like the Marlins starting rotation. I like it a lot. I like
the Marlins lineup too. Surprisingly, I don't think they're a bad team at all.
I just think it's an uphill.
I think the Marlins could. You're gonna laugh. If the Marlins were in the Central, they'd probably be my pick for second place.
I don't know.
They're better than the Cubs.
maybe this year they are, not last year. But I was gonna say, anyway, let's start from the top. Braves. I know I've been championing the Mets all offseason long, and I think I even picked them to go make it to the World Series for a while there. But after all these injuries, and it seems like the ghost of Mets past is coming back. So I kind of I was this close to not putting them in my in my playoff bracket here, but ultimately I think they have way too much talent on that team to not make the playoffs this year, and they better make the playoffs this year, because if they don't, then I don't know where they go from here, man. I mean, we saw the numbers last year. They should have made the playoffs last year, especially over the Marlins. There's no excuse for them not to make the playoffs, even with all the injuries. They seem to have a lot of depth. I mean, Joey Lucchesi is now your SP number 5, which a lot of people laugh at, but Lucchesi might not be as bad as people think he is. So, and David Peterson on the back end of the rotation. So, but ultimately, I just like the Braves too much. I looked at both lineups, and I like their lineup just a little bit better than the Mets. It's a game of inches there. That should be a fun division back and forth between those two teams. But you have it the other way. You have the Mets number 1, the Braves number 2. Why, Sean? Why?
I like the Mets pitching depth, both in the rotation and in the bullpen, a little bit more. I think the lineups are a bit of a wash. I think the Mets lineup might be a little deeper. The Braves lineup is a little bit more top heavy with when you put both Freeman, Ozuna, and Acuna up at the top. I think that beats out any lineup, maybe in baseball, even more so than the Dodgers. But I'm not sure. I'm worried about the length of it. I've always been worried about Ozzy Albies. I still really don't buy the hit tool. He crushes lefties, and he's just against righties, which I always see as a hard thing to keep at the top of a lineup when you have such big disparities like that. Dansby Swanson, is he more of 2020 or is he more of 2021? Can Austin Riley lay off an outside slider? There are Christian Pache. Is he going to be a major league hitter, or is he just going to be a major league fielder? They have some questions in the second half of that lineup. And when you add in the questions of the length of lineup versus the pitching rotation, which is good. Don't get me wrong. It is good, but it is unproven. You're talking your top 3 guys. Mike Soroka just has only pitched 1 year, missed a year. Max Fried has dealt with a lot of injuries, only pitched about a year and a half so far. Ian Anderson has pitched for a month. It's a lot of stuff to ask of them, of very young pitchers, especially when we're going to see young pitchers struggle to throw a lot of innings in 2021.
Yeah. Any timetable as to when Soroka might be back?
I think he's supposed to be in the next, within the first month, I believe. Okay. I'm not 100% sure.
I mean, that should bring help to this pitching rotation. But like you said, it's still unproven. Soroka is still an unproven guy. And
so Soroka hasn't even made one start in spring training, so it might actually take longer than that.
Okay. And Soroka does kind of, aside from the Achilles, he does come with a history of arm injuries. I know Braves fans kind of laughed at that when I said that Soroka's injury riddle, but I had to double check, and sure enough, there's a shoulder injury, there's a elbow injury, so yeah. But when Soroka's healthy, he could be one of the better young pitchers in all of baseball. But with all that being said, I just think that the Mets also are injury prone. So and it seems, I don't know, man. New owners, same results. Disappointed that Carrasco is going to start the year off on the IL. Marcus Stroman, who
Carrasco was the one guy that even when the Mets traded for him, I was like, yes, he's slept on. You guys aren't talking enough about Carrasco. But I told somebody that I was like, I'd be shocked if Carrasco throws more than 100 innings because, he hasn't thrown a whole lot the whole last 2 years due to cancer. And I believe he had another injury that kind of prevented him from throwing a whole lot. But I told him, I said, I don't think he's going to throw 100 innings. And this guy came back at me. He said, I think he's the easiest one to lock for 180 innings. And I was just like, man. And so I meant to message him. I haven't messaged him back yet. But after he tore his hamstring and missed the first month, it's just kind of like, granted, if you are going to get an injury, something like a hamstring for a pitcher, I think is a little bit better than, arm inflammation that's random and you don't really know where it's coming from.
But the way I envision it, is like you guys get Jacob. If this is a 5-game series, right? Let's just imaginary 5-game series. You guys get you guys mean you Mets fans.
Yeah.
You guys get the Jacob deGrom game, and then it's like it could be anybody's game after that. But I have to give a slight edge after that to the Braves rotation. Although I will see the fact that there's a little more question marks, but like I said, I think the lineups. I'm going to give a slight edge to the Braves, and that's why I give a slight edge to the Braves here in this division. Moving on to the Nationals. I'm sorry, not the Nationals. Third place. I have the Nationals. You have the Phillies. Let's start with the Nationals first. Wow. This. I don't know. It just feels like a last hurrah for them. But with all those guys being signed long term, they might just be one of those like when you watch a horror movie and the villain just refuses to die. That's the Nationals, right? That's the Nationals. So there's a lot to like here, but there's also a lot to hate. And Joe Ross.
Carter Keyboom was just optioned yesterday, so that puts that's the Nationals starting second and third baseman is going to be Josh Harrison and Starlin Castro. Yeah, it's like you said, they won't die.
They won't die. I mean, listen, they got Juan Soto, they got Victor Robles. He might be a thing. Trey Turner. It's a very good top-heavy lineup, and Kyle Schwarber might be a difference maker there. At the end of the day, it's just not enough, man. I don't think it's going to be enough compared to the other teams we just mentioned. The bullpen it might be a thing too. I know that we've been kind of singing their praises, but again, is it going to be enough? And are they going to be taxed from having to come in and help out Steven Strasburg, John Lester, and Joe Ross in this rotation? And you mentioned, if one of those guys get hurt, then they're in real trouble because who's waiting for them to come up? A bunch of nobodies in their minor league systems. So I'm not buying it. I'm sorry, Leon, if you're still listening. I'm not buying your Nationals this year. He might have tuned off just so he wouldn't hear us criticize him. So,
he said they need Ramirez. Is he talking about Jose Ramirez? Because if that's the case, they do not have. If I'm the Indians and who's his name, the GM, president of baseball operations for the Nationals. Oh God,
Mike Rizzo.
Mike Rizzo. If Mike Rizzo calls me and I'm whoever the Indians GM is now, it's not. I can't even remember who their GM is. I'm just laughing Mike Rizzo off the phone. I'm like, like what? Like no, seriously, no. This is not a phone call we're having.
And there's nobody in their farm. Maybe Luis Garcia, but I think we talked about Luis Garcia.
He's a better real life player just because he's a good defender, but he has really no bat. It's a very light bat.
Only 21 years old, and there's really nobody on coming to as reinforcement for this team. Yeah. So if they're gonna be anything better than this, they have to make trades, and they don't have the pieces unless they do decide to kind of sell Luis Garcia to some of these other teams just to get a big piece, a big veteran bat or pitcher to help them out. And it's a tall order, but as built right now, they're a nice third place team. I picked the Phillies in fourth because I hate their bullpen. I think I've talked about it numerous times since last year how awful the Phillies are in the bullpen. But you, sir, you have them in third place. Why do you like them over the Nationals?
I just think that they're an underrated team. I know that's hard for people to say, but I think people have slept on Bryce Harper. I think people are sleeping on Alec Boehm. Mm-hmm. I think their offense is tailored perfectly for the ballpark they're in.
Oh, yeah.
I think, JT Realmuto, Rhys Hoskins, Didi Gregorius, all those guys are going to be very good hitters. Center field, ironically, looking at the depth chart for him right now is Odubel Herrera is expected to get the majority of the playing time in center field. So talk about a name we haven't heard in a couple of years. Yeah. But the pitching staff, Nola and Wheeler is a underrated 1-2 punch. There's a lot of teams that can't meet that 1-2. Zach Eflin is solid, and the back half of the rotation is where it just completely falls apart for me. Matt Moore, Chase Anderson, Vince Velasquez, Spencer Howard. I don't see it, and that's why they're a third place team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I see maybe Zach Eflin being a borderline decent starter, but you get to the Matt Morris, Chase Anderson, all those other guys you mentioned. I would actually prefer Spencer Howard being up here, but I know that he's number one, young, and number two, he has a back injury. But I'm already seeing red flags here. And then you get to the bullpen. It's a very top heavy bullpen, and then it just goes down the crapper after Jose Alvarado as the setup guy in the eighth inning, and then we still don't know who their closer is. But do they have some minor leaguers worth mentioning? Not Mickey Moniak.
No. I mean there's Mick. Their best one is going to be Mick Abel. 19-year-old starting pitcher is probably going to be one of the best right-handed pitching prospects in the game, but he's a ways away.
Ways away. Matthew Allen or Mick Abel.
Oh, that's close. I think Allen's a little bit more polished,
Okay.
but Abel could have the higher ceiling.
And of course, we finished with the Marlins, who we've been singing their praises a little bit, but I still think they're ways away. And I thought I was maybe just downplaying them too much. And I saw the depth chart projections. They're supposed, according to depth charts, they're supposed to have the 25th best hitting lineup, the 23rd best starting rotation, which I disagree. It's not 23rd. I think they're more middle of the pack there, and the 24th best bullpen. So let's start with the rotation. I think that's the real crown jewel of that team, and it's Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, Eliezer Hernandez, Trevor Rogers, and Sixto Sanchez, who's now listed as a number 5 guy, who at one point he was like the number 3 guy, but things changed in spring training. But that's a very promising rotation there. Just
that's such a good, and it's a long rotation too.
Not a single guy is over the age of 25 as of today.
Yeah. The guy that worries me a little bit is Eliezer Hernandez. Trevor Rogers, I think, is the one being slept on. Everyone wants to talk about Lopez, Alcantara, and Sixto Sanchez. I think Trevor Rogers, lefty, been hitting 96, 97. He's looked great in spring training. I've been saying that all day, but he's the guy I think could be the best out of all of them.
And if any of those guys falter, I mean, they're pretty deep in the at AAA with some of their young guys as well. So Edward Cabrera being the big name there, along with Braxton Garrett. Max Meyer is what do you call it? A long-term project, but that's another name to keep an eye on. So they're lower at pitching. Unfortunately, you can't say the same about the bullpen. Maybe if Yimi Garcia was the actual closer and not the setup guy, I would like it just a little bit more. But Anthony Bassfish will be. What's with baseball players and last names with fish? Mike Trout.
Oh, do you know that they have a relief pitcher who's been in camp with them as a non-roster invitee? His name's Jake Fishman. Fishman. God. And he plays for the Marlins.
That's awesome. We got Bass and Fishman. Adam Simber's on a major league team right now. I cannot believe that. But it's another top heavy. It's Yimi Garcia and everybody else, as far as I'm concerned. That bullpen's going to be trash this year.
Granted, maybe Max, because they toyed with this last year when they drafted Max Meyer. They talked about bringing him up and putting him in the bullpen because his fastball and slider are already major league ready. But I don't think that happens. I think they have too much to lose by doing that. But possibility.
And they have some guys in their lineup that are kind of promising, but as built right now, I just compared to everybody else in that division, they're just not at the same level as those other teams. So
they're not the Mets, Braves, Phillies, but even they're not even really the Nationals. Yeah. But I with how balanced their lineup is, the Nationals are definitely great because they have Soto and Trey Turner, but I like the length. The Jazz Chisholm and Miggy Rojas and Jorge Alfaro to round out a lineup is not terrible, I don't think.
Alrighty then. I turned off my screen because I'm trying my best to. This might be as good as it gets, as I want to go ahead and share my bracket here. Just bear with me. Here it goes. So there's my bracket, going from left to right. AL wildcard. I'm assuming the White Sox could beat the Blue Jays, assuming that Lucas Giolito is starting that game, because if Lucas Giolito starts that game, then the Blue Jays are screwed. So there's that. They advance and make it. They have a date with the Yankees. I think the Yankees should make quick work out of them in 4 games. The other series is the Astros and Twins. I think it should go 5 games this time around, but I think the Astros are going to do what they did this past year and just break a lot of Twins' hearts on the road, just like they did this past year. So. The AL Championship Series, finally we get the matchup we all wanted. They might have to play at a neutral site for this one, Sean, as this could get ugly. But I think this is the Yankees. I honestly do like the Yankees. I always like the Yankees every single year, and I always end up more or less picking them to be my World Series winner, even when they're supposedly rebuilding, as Yankee fans like to use that excuse. But no, it's a well-built club. It's a club full of depth and resources, and I think this is the year they make it to the World Series. Over to the right, we start with the Mets and Padres. I think the Padres, if that's the Yu Darvish game, I think And at home, I think even with Jacob deGrom, I cannot not pick the Padres here. I have to go with the Padres on this one.
Picking against Jacob deGrom in a winner go home game.
Hey,
You are a ballsy person.
I love the Padres. I was this close to picking them to be number one in the West, but I just can't do it because the Dodgers are loaded. This one should go 5. Dodgers and Padres in a very memorable NL division series, but the Dodgers have too much firepower. But yeah, I wish there was a different way to what do you call it? Seed
Work
these
that in.
teams and
Yeah.
work that in. So this could be the best of 7 series and not a best of 5, but whatever. Brewers and Braves. The Braves better make quick work of the Brewers here.
Yeah.
I know I love their Brewers pitching staff, but the Braves that lineup is pretty ferocious when it's clicking the right way. A rematch of last year. This time around, the Dodgers should relatively easily dominate the Braves. Dodgers make it to the World Series against the Yankees. Dodgers in 6. There's your championship along with the color-coded the color scheme there as best I can for Excel. That might be a tad too light. There you go. A little bit darker there for the Dodgers. So there you go. I got the Dodgers winning the World Series, and you also have the Yankees and Dodgers, correct?
Yes, and I have Dodgers as well.
All right. Dodgers in 6?
Yeah, 5. I'll say 5.
Oh, look at you. Okay. Oh, well, this is because you hate the Yankees.
I just think it's the Yankees don't have the pitching to really make it through an entire playoff.
You're just a Yankee hater. Just
yeah, you're right. How dare I try and sneak it in?
Moving. Let's make this a little bit bigger here. Moving on to spoiler alert. Moving on to the American League Awards. MVP, you got Shohei Ohtani, and I got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. A couple of bold picks from.
I almost picked Vlad Jr. That's hilarious that you picked
out
him.
Of my mind. You know what it is?
I almost picked him.
We're a married couple at this point. Let's see here. No. So yeah, Vladimir Guerrero. I think it's his time to shine with that Blue Jays getting improving. And making the wild card. I think the voters they love a good story, Sean. And I think
they love a good story.
And I think you're picking Ohtani for the same reasons because they love a good story. Hey, this guy's the best player since Babe Ruth, or best two-way player since Babe Ruth, I should say. Cy Young Award winner. I got Lucas Giolito. You got Kenta Maeda. That's actually a very solid pick. But
yeah, I think he's a guy that gets slept on when it comes to the American League Cy Young. You know, he was, I believe, second place behind Bieber last year. He had the no-hitter. He's looked great. Ever since he's been given the chance to be great. So I think he finally sneaks one in, maybe has one final like career top year and then starts the downhill.
All right. I got Lucas Giolito because I think people are going to say, wow, with no Eloy Jimenez under, the leadership of Lucas Giolito, this team made the playoffs because he's the best pitcher in the American League. So, and like I said, he's going to win he's going to beat who the hell did I say? The Blue Jays. He's going to beat the Blue Jays in a matchup between Cy Young Award winner and MVP in that wild card game for the American League. Rookie of the year, I got Andrew Vaughn because he's going to replace Eloy Jimenez and, kind of get a little bit of his production in there, and fans and the voters are going to be like, wow, that's impressive that a rookie can kind of step in and help the White Sox make the playoffs and blah, blah, blah. Because people like a good story. I like your pick a lot better, though, for obvious reasons, because I have him on both my fantasy teams, and that's Jerry Kelenic. Go ahead.
I think he could go legitimately 25-25 in 140 games and just run away with the award. I don't think there will be anyone in the American League close to him. And he could be another unanimous Rookie of the Year pick.
All right. Manager of the Year. I didn't get one from you, Sean, but if you have one to share, let me know and I'll add it.
American League, let's go with who's the Angels' new manager?
Crap. Look it up. But I got Charlie Montoyo of the Blue Jays. Blue Jays are going to make the playoffs. They're going to be that second wild card, and people are going to be impressed with that. And it's going to be a fun team to watch. So,
how did you not know who the Angels manager is?
I can't think right now. I'm too
busy.
It's
Joe Madden. I think Joe Madden. I could see it, even if they don't make the playoffs, which they very well could. But I'm going to go Joe Madden.
All right. I mean, that's fair. I mean, Joe Madden is a solid name, so we'll go with that. Finally, you got a Manager of the Year for the National League there, Sean?
Let's go with. Give me a second. Let's go through the other guys.
Okay, so we both have Juan Soto as MVP. We love Juan Soto. We talk about him all the time under like a demigod at this point. He's a Hercules of Greek gods is Juan Soto. No, that's Kevin Youkilis. No, Juan Soto. He's going to be great, and he's going to post ridiculous numbers, even though he's left-handed and plays for a borderline contending Nationals team. I think he's just going to basically voters are going to fall in love with his antics and his personality, and he's going to be bigger than life, and it's going to be a great 2021 season for him. Cy Young Award winner, you went with the safe pick in Jacob deGrom, which I was this close to going with either him or Trevor Bauer.
Man, if Trevor Bauer wins another Cy Young, what are those haters gonna do when they say, "Oh, he won the Mickey Mouse Cy Young"? Like, oh my god, if he wins one more Cy Young, I'm gonna just laugh at people so hard.
Wait, what do you mean Mickey Mouse? I don't get that.
Everyone said that the Dodgers, their World Series is a Mickey Mouse World Series because it was only a 60-game season. So,
okay. Well, it's clear that deGrom and Bauer are the top of the National League in terms of starting pitching. But I wanted to go bold here. Actually, let me bolden that up. There it is. Luis Castillo for the Reds, especially if he gets traded to a contending team. I like his chances, and just to get a different name there, because deGrom and Bauer have been going back and forth. Or it was deGrom for 2 years, and then Bauer last year.
deGrom was 2 years in a row, and then Bauer last year.
And if Bauer wins again, that'd be another Bauer pick. But I think I'm a firm believer that this award gets handed off like a hot potato. So maybe Luis Castillo could benefit from that.
The thing I worry about with Luis Castillo is look at the defense that's behind him now.
Yeah,
Suarez at shortstop, Castellanos and Winker in the outfield. Oh God, that does not make me feel warm and fuzzy on the inside.
Yeah, well, I still like his stuff, and I get excited every time I picture Luis Castillo pitching for the Reds. Like, I see him, if he's pitching, I want to watch those games while he's still there. Rookie of the year, I'm going with Ian Anderson. I know I've been kind of down on him, but I'm gonna believe the hype, because if the Braves are gonna win that division, they need him to step up big. So if he steps up big and they win a division, Ian Anderson will get awarded.
Yeah, I almost picked Ian Anderson, and then I came to my senses and realized it has to be Ke'Bryan Hayes.
Yeah, it's a solid pick as well. He's actually the front runner if you for this award. If you look at the Vegas odds. Craig Counsell, I got him as my manager of the year because if the Brewers make the playoffs, people are gonna just fawn over Craig Counsell. And wow, he has no hitting, and yet he makes the playoffs. He's got that team contending. So,
the homer in me wants to make my manager of the year pick Luis Rojas, especially if they win the division. But you already typed it. I could also see it going to David Bell. Okay. Especially if the Reds win that division like I expect them to. It could be either one of those two guys. I'd say between those two, it would go to the one whoever wins the division. So if the Mets make the playoffs, maybe Rojas doesn't get manager of the year. But if they win the division and they win like 95 games, then maybe there is a narrative that you could spin that Rojas is, the heir apparent.
So are we going Rojas or David Bell? Got to pick one, man. Don't be like Stephen A. Smith.
Luis Rojas, homer pick all the way. Let's go.
All right, let's go. Yeah, Luis Rojas. There you go. All right. Got a couple of comments here. Leon likes Yu Darvish as Cy Young Award winner, and Don Mattingly for the Marlins.
Of course you do, Leon.
What's the inside joke there?
I said, of course you do.
That's funny. That's pretty good. And that's it. Feel free to keep making your predictions on the comment section below. We'll take a look at them and see how right or wrong you guys are. But this is a fun time of the year as Major League Baseball season's about to get their first pitch in April 1st, I believe, correct?
Yes.
And should be an exciting one, even with the uncertainty of COVID. But it looks like a lot of these teams are going to be allowing fans to come in at a limited capacity, unless you're the Rangers. Then if you die, you die. Opening day for this. I almost had you spit out water. Oh, I was so close. A note on the show. It's Easter Sunday next Sunday, so Sean and I will be off. We are targeting April 8th as our next show, which is not this upcoming Thursday, but the Thursday after that.
We will have an entire week of baseball to talk about. That'll be fun.
Yeah, and we should have 2 games in the. Maybe even 3. Did we figure out how that's going to work on the Fantrax League?
It'll be 2. It'll be 2.
Oh, okay. So 2 separate games?
One will be the 1st through the 4th.
Okay.
And then it'll be the 5th through the 8th.
Okay.
Right,
So
because it's Mondays through Thursdays, Fridays through Sundays.
you are correct, sir. Sorry
Yes.
about that. So we'll have at least one game. We'll have one game decided by then in the Fantrax League, and then we'll be in the middle of another one, or actually
right at
finishing
the
last
very
one.
end. Right at the very end.
Right at the very end, we'll be finished wrapping up the second game of our Fantrax League as we are a semi.
I'll be busy going 2-0.
Sure. Sure. So yeah, man, I'm excited. Sean, any last words before I sign us off today?
Not much, man. Like you said, we will not be here next Sunday, so I know you guys will miss us. That's why we went a little long today. You know, we knew we weren't going to be here next Sunday, so we had to get all of our thoughts out there for you.
Yeah, and I'm actually looking to see if Roberto can give me the list from Henry and Vince. So if Roberto, if you're listening, please share your list with us so we can I can combine them on my spreadsheet and we can see who was right and who was wrong at the end of the season. For Sean, I am Felipe. Be sure to give us a follow and a like at all your podcast platforms. I mostly deal out of Spotify, but we're on Apple, Stitcher, we're on YouTube. Give us a follow, get the notification sign on. Listen to it when you follow us, you follow all of our Life Group podcasts. That's Long City on Monday nights, the basketball Step Back with Leon and Jacob, the wrestling Workshoot podcast, the Audible over there with Matt Bush and Randy at Football Life. We have every sport you can imagine. We have a group for it. For Sean, I am Felipe. We will see you next week. Have a good one, everybody.